Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are Arizona.
The Diamondbacks open the second half of the season in San Francisco and are now back home at Chase Field all week. Still in first place, but needing to take advantage of this homestand. Tonight, Tyler Skaggs takes the mound, looking to shut down the Cubs. It's game 1 of 7 at Chase Field, next on Fox Sports Arizona. Back home in the Valley, the Arizona Diamondbacks, fresh off a win in San Francisco, here for the whole week. 4 against the Cubs and 3 against the San Diego Padres. You're watching the Arizona Diamondbacks right here on Fox Sports. Arizona leading the National League West. Good evening from Chase Field and welcome to the broadcast. Steve Berthiaume and Bob Brenly back along the way. And headlines here out of Chase Field, BB. The Cubs were supposed to start Matt Garza against the Diamondbacks in the opener of this 4-game series, but hold the phone. He's been traded to the Texas Rangers.
And stay tuned. This may be a daily occurrence for the Cubs organization as their rebuilding program continues. Any veteran making any amount of money that has any value to another organization is going to be shipped out. They picked up some good young players, including Mike Olt, Justin Grimm, and C.J. Edwards. 3 good players, plus 2 players to be named later.
Yeah, Justin Grimm is a guy the Diamondbacks actually faced when they played the Rangers earlier this year and looked pretty good. So the Cubs get a whole bunch of prospects in return before Matt Garza. And the Diamondbacks tonight will turn to Tyler Skaggs on the mound, looking for another quality start here. And, Bob, they've had that organizational depth to tap into when they've needed it here. Randall Delgado was terrific against the Giants, and now it's up to another young starter.
We've seen Tyler Skaggs really good twice this season. His first outing against the Texas Rangers, as good as we've seen him at any level. Really had the breaking ball working that day, could throw it for strikes when he wanted, he bounced it in the dirt when he wanted to, could freeze the Ranger hitters. Against the Colorado Rockies, a little bit of a different story. He started to throw more of those straight change-ups. He spotted his fastball very well, but there's no question he has the weapons to be a really good big league pitcher.
Well, he's got a big start here tonight. The Dodgers are beating up the Blue Jays right now in Toronto, so they are headed for another win. So they will in all likelihood tie the Diamondbacks for the division lead before this game even gets going here. The bats begin to buzz in Sedona Red. More on that coming up. Lexus, the Golden Opportunity Sales Event is here. And by Fulton Homes. You're proud to own, we're proud to build.
Well, the second half of the season off and running for the Arizona Diamondbacks. That young man, Tyler Skaggs, making his 12th Major League start this evening as the D-backs open up a 7-game homestand, 4 straight against the Chicago Cubs. Brad Steinke outside the D-backs dugout. And a couple of D-backs right now have been hotter than July. Martin Prado, the third baseman, who struggled during the early part of the season, has really caught fire during this month. The numbers outstanding, hitting .317, a pair of home runs, 10 RBI, and he has scored 8 runs. Kurt Gibson saying earlier today his timing is getting better, his path to the ball is better, and he's being more aggressive. In the meantime, what can you say about Paul Goldschmidt, the All-Star? He just continues to roll. .328, 2 home runs, 11 ribbies, and an OPS of .949 during the month of July, and it continues here against the Chicago Cubs. The D-backs looking over their shoulders just a little bit. The Dodgers have been red hot. They still have that half-game lead in the National League tonight. It is Tyler Skaggs looking to improve to 3-1 on the season as the D-backs take on Chicago. We'll have the call next, live on Fox Sports Arizona. Steve and Bob back in just a bit.
Steve Berthune, Bob Brenly, the Arizona Diamondbacks along the way. First of 4 here against the Cubs, then 3 more over the weekend against the Padres. 7 home games here coming up, so join us at Chase Field and watch your first place Arizona Diamondbacks first of 4 against Dale Swain Chicago Cubs. They made big news earlier today. Matt Garza scheduled to hit the open market as a free agent this winter, working on a 1-year deal. Now a Texas Ranger for 3 prospects, including top third base prospect Mike Olt.
As we mentioned in the open of the show, no real surprise for the Chicago Cubs. They're going to be very busy up until the trade deadline, moving any veteran players they have, making any kind of money. And this is the lineup that Dale Swain will run out there tonight. Junior Lake, recently recalled from the minor leagues, in that leadoff spot playing center field. He's a natural shortstop. The shortstop is Starlin Castro. Anthony Rizzo over at first base. Veteran Alfonso Soriano having a nice year out in left field. Cody Ransom, the veteran utility guy, at third. Deoner Navarro doing the catching. Cole Gillespie in right field. Darwin Barney, last year's Gold Glove winner, at second base. And left-hander Chris Russin getting the start for Matt Garza. And
that's the lineup that will face Tyler Skaggs, the young left-hander, just past his 22nd birthday, his 6th start for the Diamondbacks this year. So far 2-1, the ERA just over 4. 28 hits in 29 innings with 25 strikeouts.
Yeah, and really command is not that big of an issue against this Cubs offense. They're very much a group of free swingers. You see the assortment of pitches that Tyler Skaggs has at the ready. When he's got that curveball working, it makes all of his other pitches much better.
Dodgers are beating up the Blue Jays right now, 10-4. That game in the 7th inning in Toronto, and the Diamondbacks begin this homestand with a half-game lead over LA that might vanish by the time we hit the 3rd inning or so here. And there's Didi Gregorius with the high Sox for the first time this year. 1 pitch, 1 out for Tyler Skaggs. That's a good look. Diamondbacks defensively, Bob, brought to you by Safe Line Auto Glass.
Cody Ross in left, A.J. Pollock in center, Gerardo Parra in right field. It'll be Prado Gregorius on the left side, Hill and Goldschmidt on the right side. Miguel Montero getting the nod behind the plate once again, and he'll be catching left-hander Tyler Skaggs.
Didi had a couple of games off in San Francisco, so maybe trying to shake things up a bit with the fashion statement here against the Cubs. Cody Ross also in left field with the high Sox look. Here's Starlin Castro, the shortstop. There's a strike from Tyler Skaggs. Castro with 247 and 6 home runs. Coming off a 4-for-5 day yesterday in their loss to the Rockies at Coors Field. He has struggled and slumped badly at times this season. And really for the first time in his young career, but said yesterday he's ready to go. The second half of the season is all his, he says.
Well, he's a guy that gets his hits. They're not always pretty. He's got good speed out of that right-handed batter's box. He gets a lot of infield hits, a lot of flares that drop in over the infield in front of the outfield. And he too very much a free swinger this season. 74 punch-outs against only 15 walks. Yet would put him firmly in the WW category.
Will not walk. Well, he's hit safely in 6 of his last 7. 13 hits, in fact, over that span. And he has added what they're saying is new leg kick to his swing. There's that front foot. Drives that one to right. Gerardo Parra backing up at the track at the wall, and it's over his head. Starlin Castro heads into second. He'll stop there with his 22nd double of the year. He's got that front foot that he's just started lifting up. He says it helps him look for the fastball, and he drove one there the other way.
He's got great hand-eye coordination. That's why he is such a good bad ball hitter. He can hit pitches out of the strike zone, over his head, down near his ankles, in, out. He just likes to swing that bat.
An all-star in 2011 and 2012. He's on second base, 1 out now. Here is Anthony Rizzo, the first baseman.
Well, 24% of the Cubs' hits this year have been doubles. I know that makes Dale Swaim happy. He's a big proponent of slugging percentage. He likes to see his guys, especially the corner infield, corner outfield guys, hit that ball into the gaps and out of the ballpark.
Well, this is just the guy for that, Anthony Rizzo. He lifts that one in the air high and deep to right field. Parra in front of the pool has it. Castro tags and heads for third. Here's the throw. Boy, Parra made that close. It is remarkable how often he can make plays like that matter. But Castro in safely at third, now with 2 outs.
He gets rid of it so quickly. Many times you'll see an outfielder take an extra step or two, get a crow hop so they get some momentum on that throw. But Castro very nearly popped off that bag as he was changing from one foot to the other. But yeah, Parra gets rid of that ball so quickly and gets so much on the throws, and they're always accurate.
Such a little guy, such a strong arm. So 2 away. Castro on third. Alfonso Soriano, 259, 17 home runs. And be careful here. Soriano on a huge power surge right now. He's already got 8 home runs this month. He has been picking up his offensive pace lately.
And Alfonso Soriano's approach at the plate has not changed since he came to the major leagues, and his weaknesses haven't changed. He'll chase high fastballs up above the top of the zone. He'll chase bad breaking balls in the dirt. He'll crush low fastballs, and he'll crush breaking balls in the strike zone.
Nice pitch there by Tyler to get ahead 1-2. And he crushes the Diamondbacks 43 times. He's hit 325 with 18 homers. Trying to strand that runner at third with 2 outs. Swing and a miss and a big strikeout to end the top of the first for Tyler Skaggs. Home half coming up, just underway at Chase Field. On the Blue Jays in Toronto, so they are putting the pressure on the Diamondbacks as they open a 7-game homestand, trying to maintain their edge in the National League West. And A.J. Pollock, Bob, will lead it off.
Done a nice job in that leadoff spot. He'll be followed by Martin Prado, Paul Goldschmidt, Aaron Hill, Miguel Montero, Cody Ross, and Gerardo Parra in the middle of the lineup. Didi Gregorius in that 8th spot, and Tyler Skaggs on the mound for the D-backs tonight.
And Chris Russin gets the spot start here for the Cubs after the trade of Garza, who was scheduled to start this game. This is Russin's 2nd start of the year. As you see right here, he started what was an 8-7 loss in Oakland back on July the 2nd. 3 runs, 6 hits, 3 1/3. He did give up a couple of home runs.
He was taking over for Scott Feldman, who had been traded earlier in the day, and now today takes over for Matt Garza, who was traded earlier in the day. Scott Russin rooting for a lot more trades for the Cubs so he can get some more starts here at the big league level.
That bat phone keeps ringing in Iowa. Here's A.J. Pollock. Chris Russin, 6'2", 195. He's 26 years old, from Divine Child High School in Dearborn, Michigan. Played at the University of Kentucky. A 4th-round pick by the Cubs in the 2009 draft.
Throw a couple of different fastballs, a 2-seamer that'll sink away from the righties, a cutter that'll move into the righties. Also has a slider, but his best pitch in his out pitch is a really good straight changeup.
He's behind 2-0 to A.J. Pollock. Diamondbacks 51-47, beginning the day with that half-game lead over the Dodgers atop the NL West. And the Dodgers continue to put on the pressure. D-backs continue to answer. And a good first inning there by Tyler Skaggs. And Russin is immediately behind 3-1 to the Arizona leadoff man. This is A.J.'s 26th start in the leadoff spot this year. In his previous 25 games as the leadoff man, 27 hits and 18 runs scored. Here's the 3-1. Pops it up to center field. Junior Lake. Cubs defense brought to you by Safelite Auto Glass. And Bob, I know that Junior Lake is a young player they're pretty excited about, part of the future perhaps.
Yeah, I mentioned he's a natural shortstop. They envisioned him possibly moving to third base at some point in the future, but instead of moving to his right, he moved to his left and a little deeper out there in center field. Cole Gillespie in right. Veteran Alfonso Soriano in left field to be Ransom, Castro, Barney, and Rizzo third to first across the infield. Leonardo Navarro, the veteran, doing the catching tonight for left-hander Chris Russin.
There is Junior Lake in center field, the converted infielder. No need to make him a third baseman now. They've acquired Mike Olt from the Rangers system today, the Matt Garza deal. Martin Prado back in the 2-hole tonight. 258, 8 home runs, and 36 RBIs. He had a very productive series in San Francisco. The bat continues looking better and better every time out. 5 for 12 against the Giants. Martin scored 3 runs. Hard hit to short. Castro backhands it on the short hop and makes a throw that almost pulls Rizzo off the bag, but they make the play for the second out.
Castro has a tendency to back up and play balls into tough hops. Gets this one across in time to get Martin Prado at first base. Castro's made 15 errors this year. That's the second most in the majors. Only Pedro Alvarez from the Pirates has made more errors than Starlin Castro.
Yeah, they've been a little down on him in Cubland this year. The offense has really sputtered over the first half of the year. The defense, as Bob mentioned, has been sloppy, but he says he is locked in and good to go. Here's Goldie. There's a strike called by Doug Eddings, who's behind the plate tonight. Paul Goldschmidt, 309, 21 home runs, and 78 RBIs. That ties him with the Reds' Brandon Phillips for the National League lead.
The Cubs are one of those teams that defensively will play a lot of exaggerated pull shifts. Not quite so much here for Paul Goldschmidt. You see the second baseman Barney cheating up the middle. Rizzo well off the line at first, but when they have definite pull hitters at the plate, like Aaron Hill in the on-deck circle, they will overshift drastically.
Goldie 5th in the National League in hits. He's 4th in walks. So he continues to get on base at a high rate. Rolls that one to shortstop. Castro one more time. And it's a 1-2-3 first for Chris Russin in a spot start. We're through 1, no score. Chase Field. D-backs $21 value pack. You get a lower level bleacher ticket, a hot dog, a Pepsi, and a free cookie from Subway restaurants, all for $21. So come on, join us here. Call now at 602-462-4600 or buy online, dbacks.com/value. Good time to get on board here. Watch your first place Diamondbacks 4 against the Cubs and 3 against the San Diego Padres. Nice seats right behind home plate. Air-conditioned comfort right there. You call the number right there, 602-462-4600. Book the batter's box suite. Cody Ransom, former Diamondback great, fouls that one away. Cody having a pretty good year in Chicago, 243, 9 home runs. He's been a contributor for the Cubs lately. He's homered twice in his last 13 games, getting on base a lot, taking his walks. course, born in Mesa, went to Chandler High School, South Mountain Community College, and GCU here in Phoenix, where he played for some questionable coaching, I'm told, by those of us who are manning the booth.
Not the head coach, it's just
some of the assistants.
Some of the assistants.
Some shady characters. Didi Gregorius. I'm digging the high sock look on Didi. I think that should stick. Kind of old school. You got the black cleats, kind of the Johnny U black high tops, the high socks. It's working.
Well, just keep making the plays. I don't care what you wear. Flip-flops and lederhosen. It makes no difference. Make the plays.
That's how you draft in Grafenveer, isn't it? What is with the lederhosen, Brenly? Deanna Navarro. 286 and 8 home runs. Diamondbacks have 34 home games remaining. Only 9 of them versus teams currently above 500. And so this is a good example here. You've got the Cubs and the Padres coming in, Bob, and you got to, let's face it, you got to use these series to get healthy in terms of the standings.
Yeah, you don't ever take anybody for granted. Certainly Kirk Gibson and his staff would never consider doing that. But these are some teams that the Diamondbacks should do well against. They've got ever revolving door roster over there on the Cubs side of the field right now.
Brandon McCarthy, Amanda has apparently ordered him to stop shaving. Trevor Cahill also going facial hair. Something's going on there. That one is driven high and deep to left field. Cody Ross at the track at the wall, and that ball is gone. Deanna Navarro, his 9th home run. It's 1-0 Cubs. Fifth home run allowed this year by Tyler Skaggs. 1-0 Chicago.
Deanna Navarro's had himself a nice turnaround in this season. First 24 games this year, he hit 200 with 3 homers. His next 26 games, he's hit over 350 with 6 homers. I mean, this guy's a backup catcher. Yep. Wellington Castillo is supposed to be their guy moving forward, but Deanna Navarro, every time they put him in there over his last 26 games, he's done something good.
And here's former Diamondback Cole Gillespie now. So it's 1-0 Cubs here in the second. Gillespie, former Diamondback, 45 games with the D-backs back in 2010. Dale Swaim knew Gillespie from his time as a coach in the Brewers minor league system. Gillespie was originally a 3rd-round pick by Milwaukee back in 09. Or 06, pardon me. Traded to the Diamondbacks in 09. Giants signed him as a free agent. They just waived him last week, and the Cubs picked him up.
That's a great shot. Right down there at field level.
There's the strikeout. Look at the location on the pitch that Deanna Navarro hits out. And Bob, just from up here, this is a location mistake, right?
Yeah, anytime you throw a ball right down the middle of the plate, middle of the thighs, that's a location mistake.
I mean, he's just got to be a little bit more careful, especially to right-hand hitters like that.
And a guy like Navarro has power to his pull side. From left center around to the foul pole in left, he can do some damage. But in this ballpark especially, you've got to make him hit it to the big part of the field. I don't think he's got enough pop to hit it out of here at the 400 mark or the 413 mark just to the right and left of straightaway center. But you let him pull the ball, he can do some damage.
Darwin Barney, the second baseman, at 224 and 6 home runs. Lifts that one in the air to center field. A.J. Pollock. Cubs take a 1-0 lead on Deanna Navarro's solo shot, his 9th home run. We head to the bottom of the second inning. CenturyLink, your link to what's next. A red-hot Miguel Montero coming up in the home half of the second at Chase Field.
Here at Chase Field during any Arizona Diamondbacks regular season home game.
Set for the home half of the second at Chase Field. 1-0 Cubs on Deanna Navarro's solo shot. Aaron Hill, Miguel Montero, and Cody Ross 4, 5, and 6 in the Arizona second against the left-hander Chris Russin. A spot start after the Cubs traded today's scheduled starter Matt Garza to the Texas Rangers for a package of prospects. And Russin went into emergency bat phone duty and worked a 1-2-3 first.
And given the rebuilding program that the Cubs are going through, not only last year, this year, maybe next year, and the year after, every time you get an opportunity to get on that field, whether it's as a starting pitcher, as a position player, you've got a chance to earn yourself a job in the future.
They have a lot of openings, other really than, I guess, first base and shortstop, where they're locked in long-term to young guys like Anthony Rizzo and Starlin Castro. They're wide open here. Leave your application at the door, but they have invested long-term in both Castro and Rizzo. Both young players at key premium positions. Here's Aaron Hill, 273 and 4 home runs. Lifts that one in the air down the right field line. Cole Gillespie on the run. And he makes a tremendous sliding grab right into that wall. It was amazing he didn't hurt himself.
I'm not so sure he did. Boy, he hit that wall hard, running full speed across the foul line. Ooh. Oh, man.
He hit the seat.
Now, that sidewall is padded, but going that fast in such an awkward manner, the way he hit that sidewall.
And how about the play of John Thorson there, our Golden Glover, to get out of the way? He actually hit John's retractable seat right in the wall there.
And you could see how that seat kind of gave as he made contact. If that was a flat wall over there, he may have injured himself.
I mean, what are the odds he hit the one little panel there that would retract and open up for him and give him some give, as John did a great job of getting those khakis in motion and getting out of the way. Nice play. Let's take a look. See that seat that folds out there where John sits. Looks like maybe it had just a little bit of give. Wow, that had to hurt.
Ooh. Well, what a great play.
Miguel Montero. Tell you what, so often, let's give credit to our Golden Glovers as well. You see, people in that position kind of stand around. They stand there holding a stool. They don't know what to do. They're in the way. Not here. Our guys are, we coach them up.
Somebody coaches them up.
That's right.
Dave Budrewicz down the left field line, just waiting for his chance to get on television.
There's the home run swing for Miggy. 1 and 2 now. 229 and 8 home runs. He has really had a good week here. Over the last week, he's hit 348 and slugged over 600. 7 games, 7 starts. It's been doubles and home runs. Every time a Diamondback player hits a home run this season, Fulton Homes will donate $150 to the Central Arizona Mountain Rescue Association. What kind of a deal is it, Bob, where everyone's thinking Garza? I mean, even this afternoon or this morning, it was going to be Garza. The trade really didn't get announced until early this afternoon. So all of a sudden you get to the ballpark and whoa, hold on. Garza's traded. Now we're facing this kid. Who is he? What's he got? How big a deal is that?
Well, I think you'd rather face just about anybody than Matt Garza. He's a pretty solid major league pitcher.
Excuse me, Miguel Montero. Russell does a nice job of fielding his position. And that's the second out. But just in the terms of just not knowing who the kid is or what he's got.
I think that's where you really depend on. Well, obviously, they have some video on Chris Rusin from past appearances at the major league level. You dip down into your own minor league level. Go down to Reno and talk to Brett Butler and Greg Gross down there with the Reno Ball Club. What have you seen from Rusin this year? Anything that we need to know about this guy? You just try to prepare as quickly as you can.
So he may have some success here the first time through the order. After that, all bets are off. Here's Cody Ross.
Well, you can see from the velocity readings, not overpowering his fastball in the upper 80s. Occasionally will touch 90. Just tries to move the ball in and out, up and down. I mentioned he's got a real good straight changeup. Right there it is.
Oof. Yeah, he'll throw that about 15% of the time, and he can get it in there just under 80. Pretty good movement on that.
Yeah, pretty good movement on Navarro's mask back there. Cody caught him on the backswing and knocked the mask right off the top of his head.
The view from behind the plate at Chase Field. Well, Rusin appeared in 19 games this year for AAA Iowa, made 18 starts. His record there was 8-7 with a 3.35 ERA. He is not a strikeout pitcher, as Bob mentioned. 69 strikeouts in 121 innings. Roll to second, Darwin Barney. The ever steady Darwin Barney, and Rusin has his second straight 1-2-3 inning. We are through 2 here. The Cubs lead at 1-0.
Want to get the best.
Lead over Tyler Skaggs and the Arizona Diamondbacks. Our Geico quote of the game is part of the news that broke today. Major League Baseball suspending Milwaukee Brewers outfielder Ryan Braun for the rest of the season for his involvement in that biogenesis case. Here's the quote: "I realize now that I have made some mistakes. I am willing to accept the consequences of those actions. This situation has taken a toll on me and my entire family, and it has been a distraction to my teammates and the Brewers." And there you see what Major League Baseball stepped up. Suspended for the rest of the season. Obviously, he was the National League MVP during that 2011 season, the season that the D-backs faced the Brewers in the postseason, and he was very effective in that series against the D-backs. But guys, we'll have more from the D-backs, their reaction. Kirk Gibson saying that he feels the penalties moving forward, not specifically the Braun case, but moving forward, he thinks the penalties should be more severe. No All-Star games, no Hall of Fame, and clearly this clubhouse liked what Major League Baseball did today. They do things the right way in the D-backs clubhouse, and they don't like guys who slip outside the lines of that.
Well, it just could be the first of Brad in a long line of suspensions as a result of the biogenesis case. We'll see. Stay tuned. Major League Baseball investigating that as Russ and Browns one to Paul Goldschmidt. There's that closing speed that Goldie has. One away. Alex Rodriguez and a number of other players on that list of people connected to that clinic in Miami. And we'll see what happens, Bob, but it could just be the first domino here.
I think that's probably going to be the case. Major League Baseball has done a fine job of trying to keep up with the flood that is performance-enhancing drugs in this sport, and they're doing everything they can possibly do. Unfortunately, I think the chemists are usually a step ahead.
Well, Braun used the Lance Armstrong defense, which was to accuse all the accusers. And it didn't work out. Tyler Skaggs. And Junior Lake beats it out with a head-first slide. There's that explosive speed that has Cubs fans so excited. Tyler Skaggs did a nice job there, fielding his position. But Dana DeMuth, the first base umpire and crew chief, says Junior Lake beats it out. This guy can run.
It's that ball to the right side. Tyler Skaggs doesn't fall off the mound as drastically as a lot of left-handed pitchers, and get some style points for that, but certainly an unnecessary slide right here. Not trying to avoid a tag. I think he got it right. Very tough for an umpire to get that call right. You're trained to watch the ball into the glove, or rather listen to the ball into the glove and watch the foot on the base. But when a guy slides head first, it throws everything off. Dana DeMuth that time got it right.
I've had umpires tell me that on close plays like that, many times they're either guessing, and it's a best guess, or more often than not, they are listening. And that's a key aspect for the umpire. The sound of the foot on the bag or the ball in the glove.
I think they should call guys out anytime they slide head first into first, just on general principle.
Okay, but right there, I'm with you, but right there it worked. Right there it worked. So Lake bunts for a base hit. That's the third Cubs hit here against Tyler Skaggs. Starlin Castro doubled his first time. Mentioned that Castro has that new leg kick to his swing. He's got that as a swing mechanic adjustment. He also says he's looking for the fastball every time now, so let's check that front foot. He said he was late to the fastballs before. Now he's adjusting to looking for them. And that little mechanic there, that front leg kick, he says, has helped out. As they've tried to figure out where his offense has disappeared to. He really struggled earlier in the year, and he's come on a bit lately. 4 for 5 yesterday.
You definitely have to keep an eye on Lake over there at first base. 21 steals last year for Double-A Tennessee. The year before that, he had 38 stolen bases between Single-A Daytona, Double-A Tennessee. With a lefty on the mound, I have to imagine he's just going to go on first movement if he's going to try to steal a base. He's not getting any kind of a read right now on Tyler Skaggs.
Castro's ahead 2-0 here. Cubs lead at 1-0 on Deanna Navarro's 9th home run, a solo shot in the second.
I think Miggy got hit on a backswing there himself. Looked like it got him on that left elbow. Watch the bat of Castro as he finishes his swing, comes around, and oh man. Boy, everybody's hit their crazy bone on the corner of a table or on the edge of a doorway or something. Imagine a guy swinging a bat and whacking you right in the crazy bone.
Part of the gig on a daily basis. And no one has caught more innings behind the plate this year in the major leagues than that man. He is number one. 2-1 to Castro. Lake holds at first. There's a strike. It's 2-2. Junior Lake is an interesting guy. He swung at the first pitch he saw in the big leagues and knocked it for a double off the Rockies' Jorge De La Rosa. And then while standing on second base on the very next pitch, he stole third. Off-speed pitch, and look at that. Castro just falls apart up there for the strikeout.
Big sweeping curveball from Tyler Skaggs. That ball would have started right at a left-handed hitter. Breaks all the way across and down and ends up on the inside corner at the knees. That is a big sweeping curveball.
Castro's just coming apart at the seams on that one. Here's Anthony Rizzo. Flying out to center his first time up. Rizzo has hit in 3 straight games. He was 2 for 4 yesterday at Coors Field, including a home run. That one is hard down the line and foul. And look, it's our man down there, John Thorson, just playing the carom correctly, positioning himself right in front of it, leaping out of that retractable seat. Rizzo does struggle a bit against left-hand pitching, 243 on the year overall, but 214 versus lefties. So that's about a 45-point drop for him compared to right-hand pitchers. Mentioned Castro and Rizzo as guys that the Cubs have committed to here. Everybody else is essentially open auditions. Chicago extended Rizzo with a 7-year, $41 million deal. There are options that could push the contract to about $70 million. That's Castro territory. So they are all in on those two guys. Rizzo, 23 years old. He'll turn 24 next month.
You knew the Cubs were big on Rizzo even before the extension. They made the trade with the San Diego Padres, sending fine young right-handed pitcher Andrew Kashner to the Padres for Anthony Rizzo, and they immediately gave him number 44. Usually when you come to a new ball club and it's your first year and you're not on a major league roster yet, you get 88 or 93.
Sure.
Rizzo strolled into camp and had number 44 hanging in his locker. That's a pretty good indicator that they have plans for you quickly.
And the other one, right, is if it's a guy you've drafted and developed and he finally comes up for his long-awaited debut, if he shows up with a single number. That's another one. Like the Rays traded for Will Myers, and Kansas City, he showed up and was wearing number 9. Longoria came up wearing number 3. 44 generally works out pretty good for first baseman in this league. Speaking of which, bottom 3, Cubs lead at 1-0. Are playing the Cubs, and everyone is having a fun time at the Ram Trucks Pool. Great place to watch a game. Get on in there. Don't be shy. Nice and warm. Great seats out there along the edge right there in the right center field. Great view. You actually get to see the view that the outfielders see. You're just about on the same level as the fielders out there. So get a jump on a ball and don't fall in. Gerardo Parra, Didi Gregorius, and Tyler Skaggs, 7, 8, 9 here in the Diamondbacks third against the young left-hander Chris Russin, who's in there, and a spot start for Matt Garza. And so far, he's worked a pair of 1, 2, 3 innings. Gerardo Parra, 287 homers and 27 RBIs. And Gerardo trying to find it right now. He's fighting it a little bit.
He's in a little bit of a free fall. And usually when you struggle at the plate, you're swinging at the bad pitches and taking the good pitches.
He is 2 for his last 31. But the thing about Gerardo is, Bob, if you look at the numbers as a whole, he's already equaled both his hits and home run totals from all of last season. 105 hits, 7 home runs, but there's his July. And he's sort of venturing into uncharted waters here in terms of playing time. And that's one critical thing that's made this season different than any other for Gerardo. He's a guy that's never had 500 plate appearances in a season. His career high is 493. That was 2 years ago. Last season, Parra was up 430 times. He's already right now at 419. So you can see how far ahead of his pace he is.
And we've got a long way to go.
Yeah. He looks at strike 3. First strikeout for Russin. Doug Eddings and Gerardo Parra will have a discussion here about the strike zone.
Limbar Navarro sets up. I mean, he's over there in the right-handed batter's box. That's just a horrible call. Man. I mean, those are the kind of things that happen when you're struggling at the plate. You get an umpire that calls the strike zone 8 feet wide, and you're the recipient of a bad call. Those are the kind of things that happen when you're struggling at the plate.
Didi Gregorius also having some issues here, Bob. Didi trying to get back on track now at 273. Had the weekend off essentially in San Francisco. Once against the left-hander Madison Bumgarner, which you get. The other against Matt Cain, the right-hander. Didi started Friday's game against the Giants, but sat out Saturday and Sunday. He's ahead 2-0. Didi has been much better this season away from Chase Field. He's hitting .304 on the road and .230 at home. And that's in almost the same number of games. Now I like to see that. You and I both are on record with that. That would really be helpful if that was a bigger part of his game, don't you think?
Yeah, not only getting bunts down and using his speed down that first baseline, but just to change the defense a little bit. You show bunt a few times or try to bunt a few times. Those corner infielders were going to have to come in and protect against the bunt, and then balls like that get by.
Lines it into right. There's the first Diamondbacks hit tonight. Didi Gregorius. Those high Sox are 1 for 1. Didi, you see that? Yes, indeedy.
Yes, indeedy.
I see what you did there.
Number 37, Tyler Skaggs.
Yeah, just talking about showing that bunt from time to time, using the bunt from time to time, get those corner infielders to shallow up a step or two, and then you get soft line drives like that to shoot by into the outfield for a base hit.
Tyler Skaggs, you can see Ransom at third, well in on the grass. Gregorius at first, 1 away. Skaggs showing bunt here. Ransom almost in the right-hand batter's box.
And that's why he should try to bunt this ball to the first base side. Rizzo holding on Didi is getting a late break from first base. Definitely want to get that ball to the first base side if at all possible.
Tyler for 2 for 8 on the year. He does have an RBI. Didi, if you're wondering, does not have a stolen base as a Diamondback this year. Ransom coming way in here from third. Now it's 0-2. Matt Williams, what do you want to do now, Gibby? All right. From the dugout to the third base coach's box to the batter's box.
Against some left-handed pitchers, I would say keep bunting, but I think Tyler could probably make contact, put the ball in play, swinging away. I'm wrong again, as usual. I mean, Russell's not an overpowering guy. We've documented his fastball in the upper 80s, has that little bit of a slider and a straight changeup. Against somebody that really blows gas out there and you don't think your pitcher has a chance to make contact, maybe you keep the bunt on the 2-strike pitch, but I think Skaggs had a better chance of putting the ball in play swinging, and came up at
A.J. Pollock flied out his first time up. Now a .251 on the year with 6 home runs. Mentioned how Didi does better away from Chase Field. A.J. is very much the opposite. Pollock is 50 points better at home than on the road, and in the exact same number of starts. 33 starts at Chase Field, hitting .278. 33 on the road, .228. And back in the leadoff spot today against the left-hander Russin. Cubs lead at 1-0. Deanna Navarro's 9th home run to lead off, or pardon me, with 1 out in the second inning. There are the home road splits for A.J. Pollock. Navarro's solo shot, the only run so far. Cubs have 3 hits, including a double and a home run. So Chicago now with 111 extra base hits since June 13th. That is the most in the National League during that span. Tell you what, you throw enough of those soft change-ups and sliders that he's got, 88 starts to look like it's got a little more zip on it than it might normally would.
Well, hitters call that pitching backward. He uses his off-speed stuff to set up his fastball. Generally, pitchers use their fastballs in and out, up and down to set up their off-speed pitches. But guys that don't throw particularly hard sometimes will pitch backwards. Use the off-speed pitches to set up an 87 or an 88 mile-an-hour fastball like he did right there to Goldie.
He's got a change-up that'll throw at 79 miles an hour, a slider that comes in at 80. You throw enough of those, then all of a sudden 88 looks like 93, 94. Here's the 3-1. Martin Prado on deck. 2 outs, 3-2 to A.J. Pollock. Gregorius will be off with the pitch at first. Rizzo playing now behind him. There goes Didi. Rolled down by Matt Williams, foul.
This is where you hope to find a gap or put one right down either the first or third base line. With Didi on the move, he should be able to score from first base on an extra base hit. That's kind of been one of A.J. Pollock's specialties this year, the extra base hit. 23 doubles this season.
Here's Rizzo behind the runner at first. Didi off with a pitch. Popped him up. Navarro. Diamondbacks get their first hit, but they strand the runner. We are through 3. It's 1-0 Cubs.
fan to join Mallory and Danielle as the next Fox Sports Arizona girl. Log on to girls.foxsportsarizona.com to upload your photos and submit your video for a chance to be the next Fox Sports Arizona girl.
Gonzo tried to fight me over that promo in San Francisco. Tyler Skaggs will face Alfonso Soriano, Cody Ransom, and Deanna Navarro. 4, 5, and 6 here in the Cubs' fourth. Chicago leads it 1-0 on Navarro's solo shot, his 9th of the year. Big swing and a miss by Soriano, who struck out his first time up. Soriano has been picking up his offensive pace lately, 258 on the year, but he's hit .302 over his last 21 games. Those last 21 games including 10 home runs and 21 RBIs. How about that tear? This guy has slugged .756 over the last 3 weeks. Speaking of all these Cubby extra base hits. And, you know, now that his endless contract is actually nearing an end, this is where he ranks. I mean, this guy's been hitting everything lately. He's started to come up in trade talks, and he's actually a fairly intriguing piece. I mean, if you get Soriano, you're going to have to pay him some money. He's due the balance of his $18 million for this year, and then $18 million next year. But after that, the contract finally ends. He does have a no trade in there, so he'd have to approve the deal. But this is a guy that could help some ball clubs. Rolls it to first. Tyler Skaggs will cover. And Soriano's 0 for 2, one away to start the fourth.
Well, Soriano is a guy that nixed a trade to the San Francisco Giants last year. Yeah. Giants were looking for some outfield help, and Soriano was in the midst of one of his hot streaks about this time of year last year and turned down the trade to the San Francisco Giants. Well, you can see the numbers there against Tyler Skaggs. 3 pitches. The changeup has been banged around a little bit. He hasn't thrown many, so that is the reason for the high average. But the curveball is the swing and a miss pitch, and you see the numbers represent that.
Cody Ransom grounded out his first time. Well, if you're wondering if Soriano would approve a trade this time, he was asked about that actually last week, and he said, hey, I don't want to be on this team if they don't want me here. He says if the Cubs do want him here, he'll stay, but if they don't, he says, quoting his words, the door's open.
Well, he brings one thing Dale Swaim loves. I talked about it earlier. Cubs skipper likes to see guys that hit the ball in the seats and off the wall, and Soriano certainly fits that bill.
And hey, if you're a team looking for some offense, those guys are not that easy to find as you think, especially from the right-hand side. And if you can get the Cubs to pick up some of the money, $18 million next year and whatever's left this year, it's worth taking a look at. This guy had a productive year last year. He led the team with 32 home runs, had a career-high 108 RBIs. He's 37 years old. Shot to third, Prado. 2 up, 2 down in the fourth against Tyler Skaggs. Here's Deanna Navarro.
The Cubs this year and last year, for that matter, are kind of MLB's version of a yard sale. Just, kind of stroll through the dugout over there and
make me an offer.
Kick the tires. Yeah. What are you asking for this one?
Navarro's solo shot in the second, the only run of the game so far, his 9th of the year. As Tyler just sort of hung a slider over the middle of the plate. Watch where this pitch is. Oof. He didn't miss it. He is a switch hitter, a natural right-hand hitter. And that was right in his wheelhouse. Or the happy zone, as it's occasionally referred to. Hello there, Tigers fan.
Yeah, I saw a gentleman out there with a Tigers t-shirt on earlier. Boy, are they lost.
Navarro takes one in the hip. And now both benches have been warned. Doug Eddings, the home plate umpire, stepped out in front of home plate, and he has warned both benches. Now remember, Navarro hit the home run earlier, and now he just gets plunked right in the hip there, and so both benches are on notice. Let's see where he gets him exactly.
I got him on the knee, yeah.
Side of the knee.
A little bit of an overreaction by Doug Edding here. I don't think there was any intent there.
Watch him come out here, take off the mask. There's the warning. He warns the pitcher and then both benches.
I would love it if a hitter could turn around like Gerardo Parra called out on that horrible pitch in his first at bat of the game and
warn the
umpire. If you miss one more strike, you're out of here.
How do you think that would go over?
Not well.
Yeah. Taking a look at Navarro now. You know, is it? I'm guessing he's warned the benches because Navarro was the guy that hit the home run. Did he Cadillac the home run?
No, not to the best of my knowledge, and I didn't see anything that would ruffle anybody's feathers one direction or the other.
Now let's see. I mean, did Navarro, when he hit the home run back in the second, do anything that would offend someone? And now Tyler Skaggs is going, hey, what's the deal with the warning here? But Eddings is making sure everyone is aware and we're all on the same page here as to how we'll proceed. So Navarro's at first base with 2 outs for Cole Gillespie. Gillespie struck out his first time. Base hit. Gillespie drives it the other way, and now Navarro limps into second.
Well, it might take 2 more base hits to score Navarro from second, the way he ran from first to second base.
He's not doing too well out there.
Not too good. He holds up momentarily because this ball is lined through the right side of the infield, but watch Navarro dragging that left leg with him towards second base there. We know this has been a common problem for the Diamondbacks most of the season, but the Cubs, with runners in scoring position over their last 3+ games, are 1 for 26. You know, and we hear that everywhere we go, partner. Teams are either not able to hit with runners in scoring position, or they had a brief streak of games where they hit well with runners in scoring position, but they've fallen back into the tank again. It's a common problem around baseball.
Aaron Hill at second. And the Cubs will strand 2. We'll go to the home half of the 4th. It's 1-0 Chicago. Ram Trucks, proud partner of the Arizona Diamondbacks. And by Gila River, another proud partner of the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Twisted in the pool here, Chase Field. Hang on there. Cubs lead the Diamondbacks 1-0 on Deanna Navarro's home run. And Bob, everyone up here, both the Chicago and Arizona broadcasters alike, trying to figure out why Doug Eddings decided he needed to warn both benches.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out if there was some history somewhere, if perhaps Navarro did something on his home run trot, if something was said. We couldn't find anything in any of our replays. And then even as the two guys went off the field, Tyler Skaggs says, "Hey, you all right?" Yeah, Navarro pats him on the back, said, "Don't worry about it. It's part of the game."
So the Diamondbacks looking for some offense here. They have only one base hit. Didi Gregorius' one-out single in the third. And now Eddings is out at the mound negotiating here with Russin right now. There's Tyler Skaggs talking to Kirk Gibson. Meanwhile, right now, Eddings is out at the mound. And that conference is over. So everybody has been, he did the same thing, Bob, with Tyler Skaggs right after the benches were warned.
I mean, obviously the umpire gives the signal to the benches, and everybody should know what that means. But just to make sure, Doug Eddings goes out to both pitchers just to be sure that they know that warnings have been issued and what the ramifications are if anybody else, in his estimation, is hit intentionally.
Everybody seems to be able to laugh it off out there, and we're apparently ready to proceed without any major issues. It's Prado, Goldie, and Hill, 2, 3, and 4 here in the Diamondbacks' fourth. The Dice Man is back with us.
I think his hair has gotten darker since the last time we saw him.
Well, he's got a very good colorist. Is he hanging out with a Cub fan? Martin Prado, the bat has come alive. 6 multi-hit games this month. Bouncing back in a big way after hitting .209 in June. He's 100 points better than that here in July. Left field, Soriano. One away. Tell you what, through 3 1/3 right now, the Diamondbacks have managed one ground ball infield single against Russin.
Which is why I'm ever the optimist, and I'm going to alert the fans that any time the D-backs score 6 runs or more, Taco Bell is giving away 3 free tacos with the purchase of a large drink between 4 and 6 the following day at participating locations. Got to start sometime.
Here's Goldie, grounded out to short his first time. Paul Goldschmidt earlier this year had some big platoon splits, but as he's become a much more consistent hitter this year, Bob, those splits have really narrowed dramatically. Now only a 6-point difference in batting average, right versus left. I mean, it's just completely negligible. 6-point difference between hitting on the road and here at Chase Field. Earlier in the year, the splits were massive, but now they're almost exactly the same. There it is. That's lefties and righties. Just a bit outside. He tried the corner and missed.
How'd you hold that one? I think those splits for Goldie will continue to stay pretty close to the same because his approach is the same against righties and lefties. Occasionally you'll see a right-handed hitter against a left-handed pitcher want to pull the ball. They want to get out there and pull the ball to left field, and that's not the same approach they use against a right-handed pitcher, and the splits will show that. Goldie's approach is the same against righties, lefties, hard throwers, soft tossers, makes no difference. If his approach is consistent, he's going to put up numbers.
That's got to be the sign of a good hitter, right? A guy that it doesn't matter, righties, lefties, home, away. Ring him up. That's 3 strikeouts now for Russin, 2 away here in the fourth. 2 of the 3 strikeouts so far looking. We know that Gerardo Parra had an issue with the first one. Aaron Hill.
I mentioned the exaggerated pull shifts that the Cubs like to use. I'm really surprised they're not overshifting on Aaron Hill.
In fact, well, I guess Lake is pretty much straight away in center field. There's some room out there in the gap in left center. Now, in fact, they're moving Lake over. He's walking over there right now. Look at the center fielder. Yeah, I need to be over here. How's this?
He's learning.
Yep.
Yeah, one of the toughest things you have to learn changing positions is you constantly need to be looking into that bench. Dave McKay, the first base coach for the Cubs, is responsible for positioning the outfielders, and since Junior Lake hasn't played a lot of outfield, he should have one eye on the ball and one eye on Dave McKay.
There's your dead pull hitter. Hooks it into the seats.
Yeah, unfortunately, recently, a lot of Aaron's best hit balls have been fouled down that third baseline, just a little bit out in front. Timing just not quite where it needs to be.
Yeah, there's no question. He's been down a bit lately, 179 over his last 10 games with 10 strikeouts. Still trying to find that rhythm. There's another strikeout. That's 4 now for Russ, and we're through 4. It's still 1-0 Cubs.
Album, and he's a guy who need to probably be a little bit more consistent. Obviously, he's just a kid. He's a lot of excitement going through. He's a lot of emotion, and hopefully he learn how to control that, and I'm pretty sure he's going to be better.
D-backs catcher Miguel Montero and tonight's starter Tyler Skaggs making his 12th major league start. And obviously the key for young guys like that, consistency, getting a chance to pitch a few times against teams in this league. But he's really handled everything incredibly well. His maturity level far beyond that of his age. And Miggy's had a blast catching him so far. And Tyler, certainly he and Miggy have been very much on the same page, guys.
Yeah, he certainly looked good at times, Brad, and you wonder, Bob, the way things are going now, it seems like every start is kind of an open audition here for a rotation spot, not just for the rest of this year, but over the next several seasons. It seems wide open.
Yeah, what you're looking for is for the swings to be less drastic. I mean, when he's good, he's really good, but when he's been bad, he's been really bad. You'd like him to be either really good or just okay. You want to avoid that bottom part of the cycle. And that gets back to the consistency that Miggy was talking about. Learn what you have working on a given night. If it's the curveball, use the curveball effectively. If it's a changeup, use the changeup. Figure out what's working on a given night, what's effective against that opposing lineup.
Aaron Hill has to hurry. Not in time. It was just chopped too high there by Russin, who's aboard. And now let's check on Aaron Hill. chopped up a mile up in the air, long enough for Russin essentially to run underneath it and get himself a base hit.
Boy, and these are dangerous plays for infielders because Aaron Hill really puts his body at risk here. Just sweeps that ball with the bare hand right off the dirt, tries to get it to Goldie in time, and then you're really susceptible when you fall to the ground. Looked like he was able to get both hands down in front of him that time to break his fall, but a lot of times you'll see guys land on that throwing arm, do some damage.
So the leadoff man on against Tyler Skaggs. Here is Junior Lake, the center fielder. Cubs have had some injuries in their outfield, David DeJesus and a few other guys. So Lake, who's really barely played above Double-A ball, is getting a quick look here, at least until DeJesus comes back from a shoulder injury. They see all kinds of possibilities here. This guy's a real athlete.
So many similarities between Junior Lake and Starlin Castro. Now, Castro was on the fast track, got to the big leagues much quicker than Junior Lake, but they're built very similar. They play the same position. They both run well. They both have great hand-eye coordination, and they both swing at anything.
2-0. Drives that one high and deep to left center field, and that ball is out of here. Way out of here. Junior Lake, his first major league home run, is a 2-run shot, and it's 3-0 Chicago. He just turned 23 years old, and Cubs fans like what they see.
And that's a part of his game that's really just come on the last couple of years. He's getting the silent treatment over there in that first base dugout, but the power part of his game has really come on the last couple of years. Gets himself into a good count and absolutely clobbered that ball to left center.
Here's Castro now. He lines a base hit to right. 3 straight base hits against Skaggs to open the 5th. There's the reception. Junior Lake, born just 3 days after Starlin Castro in the Dominican, grew up in San Pedro de Macorís. In fact, Lake and Castro roomed together in the Dominican Summer League. They were roommates in rookie ball here in Arizona. And they might both be a big part of this Cubs future. Charles Nagy on the phone. Anthony Rizzo's 0 for 2.
Well, hopefully a valuable lesson learned by Tyler Skaggs, and we've seen it every series we played this year. There's a player or two on the other team, and we've joked about it. They won't walk. They're not going to take a base on balls. They're going to swing that bat any way they can, as Rizzo smokes one foul into the bleachers. You have to learn how to pitch to guys who won't take a walk. You don't have to throw them a strike. We saw it in San Francisco with Pablo Sandoval. We saw it earlier against the Mets with Marlon Byrd. Seeing it in this series with just about everybody in the lineup. You can get these hitters out without throwing them quality strikes, especially if you're ahead in the count. That's a tough lesson for a pitcher. I mean, when you drill these guys, throw strikes, throw strikes, throw strikes. But now you've got hitters at the plate that are going to swing at every strike you throw. You have to learn how to make that adjustment.
So Russin started it off with a high chopper for an infield single that he beat out. Lake hit one to Mesa for his first big league home run, and now Castro has lined one into right. And Tyler still looking for his first out here in the 5th.
Boy, how about this? Tyler Skaggs has only been behind in the count to 4 Cubs hitters in this game. A double to Castro, a homer to Navarro, a homer to Lake, and Chris Russin's infield single. The only 4 times he's been behind in the count.
So he's had to then throw strikes, and they've just crushed him.
Teed him up. I mean, they're an aggressive swinging team regardless, but if you put them in good hitters counts, that's when they're dangerous.
Well, he's ahead here on Rizzo, 1-2. Chase the high one for the strikeout. That's 4 strikeouts for Tyler Skaggs. There's the first out of the 5th.
Up the ladder fastball right where Miggy wanted it. Not only up, but inside. No way Rizzo catches up to that one. And Miggy was looking to pick down at first base after that swinging strike 3.
Here's Soriano, who's 0 for 2. How about those blue shoes he's got on? That's quite a look to go with the high socks.
He's worn the high socks his whole career. He's got the high top spikes on.
Auditioning for Blue Man Group. Stay out ahead of this guy. 8 home runs already this month. Up to 17 on the year. Starlin Castro, 8 stolen bases this year. He's been caught twice. Way out in front of that, 0-2.
Good changeup that time from Tyler Skaggs. I mentioned it earlier, Soriano, a dead low fastball hitter, so if you can throw that changeup somewhere at the bottom of the strike zone with a little tailing action, off speed about 10 miles per hour, you'll get a lot of swings and misses.
Like that. 5 strikeouts for Skaggs. Back-to-back strikeouts. 2 down now in the 5th. And here's Cody Ransom.
A big curveball once again. When he's able to command that and put it somewhere close to the strike zone, he gets a lot of swings and misses. Not even weak contact, just swings and misses.
It's like a back foot curveball there. That's the pitch that Patrick Corbin uses with so much success. Only with Patrick, it's the slider buried on that back foot to right-hand hitters. Same location there to Soriano with a big breaking ball. Here's Cody Ransom, who's 0 for 2. For the Cubs, you got a bunch of free swingers up there. You just throw a bunch of junk, and they're swinging away wildly.
Throw pitches that give the illusion of a strike. Around the edges, down around the bottom of the knees, up above the top of the letters. Looks like it could possibly be a strike, and they're going to hack at it.
Cody Ransom signed as a free agent with the Padres this winter. He was waived midway through April and picked up by the Cubs. And here he is.
Ransom is an interesting cat. I'll tell you, you talk about the most Major League Baseball seasons with 90 or fewer plate appearances.
Yeah.
Well, he's 3rd on the list. He's had 9 seasons with less than 90 plate appearances in a year. Everybody else on the list is a catcher, a backup catcher.
So he spent most of his time in the minors then. And then comes up for stretches and then it's right back down. He's 37 years old. It's not a kid. Ooh, just missed with that one.
Now, last year he did get 282 plate appearances, and so far he's had 129 this season, but he's had 9 seasons of his major league career where he had fewer than 90 plate appearances.
Last season, split time between the Diamondbacks and the Brewers.
Yeah, he's tied for 3rd place with 3 other catchers, and the 2 guys ahead of him on the list are backup catchers.
May 23rd, selected off waivers from the Diamondbacks by Milwaukee. Then at the end of August last year, the Diamondbacks brought him back off waivers from the Brewers. Then he was waived by the Padres, and now he's here as a Chicago Cub. Pops that one up. Aaron Hill on the grass. Now comes in on the dirt and makes the catch. But Junior Lake's first big league home run has made it 3-0 Cubs. And you can read all about it after the game at FoxSportsArizona.com. All your online local sports coverage you can't get anywhere else. There is Jack Magruder working out a game story right now. Jack's got a piece, very interesting piece actually, up there right now on the website about Didi Gregorius had to change his diet due to a medical condition. In fact, to save his life. So that's a must read at FoxSportsArizona.com. A lot on there too about the new coaching staff for the Cardinals. Maybe you'll be out there some Cardinal games. Right?
Absolutely.
I have yet to attend a game in that stadium. Look forward to it.
It's a lot of fun. Great venue.
I got to go to a bunch of Coyotes games when we first got here, but the football season had ended, so we'll be out there. Miguel Montero, Cody Ross, and Gerardo Parra. Diamondbacks with only one hit so far, and that was a single by Didi with one out in the third. Other than that, it's been all Cubs.
Speaking of football season, the Dodgers scored 2 touchdowns today against the Toronto Blue Jays, a 14-5 victory over the Jays. And I know what you're thinking: Adrian Gonzalez, Yasiel Puig, Hanley Ramirez. It was the 6 and 7 hitters in the Dodger lineup today. A.J. Ellis and Skip Schumacher went a combined 6 for 11 with 8 runs driven in and 2 homers.
Ellis had a career-high 4 hits and 5 RBIs. And that was against Josh Johnson, too, the guy they got, of course, from the Marlins, who was now 1 and 6. He gave up 5 earned on 7 hits in 2 innings. Thanks for playing. Rio wasn't that great either. 4 runs, 9 hits, and 5 1/3, but he's now 8 and 3. And so the Dodgers, the thing about that is they're out on the East Coast, and they should be exhausted. They're playing the Nationals and the Blue Jays, and they're beating these guys up. Castro throws out Miggy to open the 5th, 1 away.
Other National League West action tonight. The Miami Marlins up 3-1 over the Rockies in the bottom of the 8th as you get a look at the NL West standings. Padres 5-3 winners today over the Milwaukee Brewers.
Well, the Diamondbacks have got to find some offense here against Chris Russin, who has allowed only 1 base runner all night. That Gregorius single in the 3rd. Here's Cody, who grounded out to second his first time. Let's get some runs here.
I hear you.
Yeah. And with the way Cody creams left-handers, this should be right in his wheelhouse here. Diamondbacks are 35-30 this year in games Cody Ross has started. And he had the big 2-out, 2-run single yesterday in San Francisco. And it's been a season where it's hard to argue that Cody's offensive production isn't down somewhat. He's battled the contact lens issues and the vision problems. But in terms of translating some hits into wins, I mean actual W's, Cody Ross has contributed big time. He was 4 for 7 in that extra inning win at Dodger Stadium the day after the brawl. Had the big pinch hit 8th inning home run that beat the Marlins here on June 19th. A couple of big home runs at Citi Field against the Mets. And he'll take the 1-out walk. Just the second Diamondback base runner tonight.
You know, we use that term crafty lefty an awful lot, but that at bat right there was a perfect example of what a crafty lefty does. He fell behind 2-0 to a dangerous right-handed hitter and threw him a slider for a called strike 2-0. Missed with the next pitch, running the count to 3-1. Tried to throw another slider for a strike. When you get in obvious fastball counts, crafty lefties don't necessarily throw fastballs.
What makes him crafty.
It makes him crafty.
And, you know, like with other guys, when you throw 88, you better be crafty. That one is driven to right. Cole Gillespie on the run near the line, and he tracks it down. And now Cody Ross is going to be doubled off first. And that ends the inning. Gerardo Parra, it's been going that way for G lately. He drove that one into the right field corner, but it turns into 2 outs, and we're through 5. It's still 3-0. Plays in right field, sliding into the retractable seat, and then tracks this one down off the bat of Gerardo Parra, and they double up Cody Ross. And Bob, what's Cody doing at third base there?
Well, I'm not really sure. He must have thought he had a better read on that drive than he really did. It looked like that ball was going to hook away from Gillespie down into the right field corner, but it kind of held its line. Gillespie was able to make a nice running catch, and Cody was almost all the way to third base by the time the play was made.
I mean, you got to make sure that ball gets down, right?
Yeah, trailing 3-0 in a ball game, you go halfway, you read the ball. If it gets down on the ground, you'll easily be able to advance to third base. And if the catch is made, you'll easily be able to get back to the bag at first.
But instead, it's 2 outs. That ends the 5th. And here is Navarro, who leads off the 6th. He homered back in the 2nd. He was hit by a pitch in his next at bat, prompting warnings from plate umpire Doug Eddings to both benches. Tyler quickly out ahead 0-2. I mean, he seems to be, Bob, much like Randall Delgado in the sense that he can be very effective at times, and there's a lot to like about a young guy like this. But when he does make a mistake, it's a location mistake. And usually, because it's a location mistake based on the stuff, it gets hammered and it's a big one. Like we see that when Randall leaves a changeup up or a fastball that doesn't quite locate exactly. The pitch that Navarro hit out was just a hanging nothing ball.
Especially with that fastball, the ability to locate the fastball, especially when you're behind in the count and you're forced to throw a heater, 2-0, 3-1. You have to keep it out of the middle of the plate. That's one of the last lessons a good young pitcher learns here at the major league level. In the minor leagues, occasionally you can just rear back and throw a fastball by a guy.
Right back to the mound. I mean, let's look at the location on the 2 home run balls. You've got Navarro on the left and Lake on the right. I mean, right down the middle.
And remember, I said those were the only counts that he had fallen behind. The 4 hits that he gave up in this game, the Castro double, the homer to Navarro, the homer to Lake, and the infield hit by Chris Russin, were the only 4 times he was behind in the count. He was forced to throw a strike, and because they were fat strikes, they got hit hard.
Cole Gillespie. That one is hit hard to right. Parr is there. So think about how different a game it would be without those 2 pitches. And no one's going to be perfect for an entire game throwing 100 or more pitches. But it's a good example of what we talk about with location, and you have to be, locate here and there and keep the ball down. Darwin Barney is 0 for 2.
Well, all 7 hits that Tyler Skaggs has given up in this ball game have come on fastballs. Cubs hitters are 0 for 3 against his changeup when they put it in play. They're 0 for 7 against his curveball, but 7 for 12 when they put his fastball in play.
And we always talk about that, and we hear analysts and guys say that all the time. He's got to spot the fastball, right? So that's an example of not spotting the fastball.
I mean, unless you're Ryan Harvey or Max Scherzer can throw at 99 or 100 miles an hour, you've got a little more wiggle room then when you get up in the upper 90s. But hey, when your best fastball sits in the low 90s with very little movement, you better put it where you want it.
Tyler is a guy whose 4-seam fastball averages 90 miles an hour, so he is not by any means a hard thrower. But he can do magnificent things with his breaking stuff right there. That's his 6th strikeout. As Darwin Barney fans to end the 6th will go to the bottom of the 6th here. And the Diamondbacks looking for some offense, trailing 3-0.
The Arizona Diamondbacks are offering a chance to catch a game from the RamTrucks.com pool. Look for specially marked packages of Pepsi 12-ounce cans for a chance to find the limited edition D-backs can. Pepsi, live for now. Oh, man, that's a good one.
Hang out right there. It's a good spot. Diamondbacks with one hit against Chris Russin, and he'll face the bottom of the order, Didi Gregorius, the pitcher spot, and then the top of the order, A.J. Pollock. Adam Eaton is in the on-deck circle right now, and so he will apparently hit for the pitcher, and that'll end Tyler Skaggs' night after 6 innings. At least for the moment. Here's Didi. Singled his first time up. He's got the only Arizona hit. Chris Russin has pitched a beauty so far, the 26-year-old left-hander. In a spot start, Matt Garza's scheduled to start this game, traded to the Texas Rangers this afternoon, and so here is Russin, who has spent all year, with the exception of one start, at AAA Iowa. And boy, they have to be thrilled with what they've seen so far. Blake Parker is warming up now.
Just a word of advice to the home clubhouse attendant in Texas. Stock up on shaving cream. Matt Garza is the master of the shaving cream pie. He has ruined more post-game interviews than anybody in the history of Major League Baseball.
Popped him up, shallow center, late coming in, Castro going out, and it drops between them, and Didi flies in a second. 12th double of the year for Didi Gregorius. He hustles into second, into scoring position, right into no man's land.
Well, we talked about Lake's inexperience out there in center field. A much easier play for him coming in. He gives way at the last minute. Either Cub can get on that ball, and as it drops on the ground out there in shallow center field, Didi was already sliding into second base. Great hustle.
So Didi has both Diamondback hits. Arizona right now 5 for 37 with runners in scoring position over their last 6 games. So a chance here to get on the board as Adam Eaton hits for Tyler Skaggs. So that ends Tyler's night, and against the left-hander here, Russin, all the players on Kirk Gibson's bench with the exception of Will Nieves and the switch hitter Cliff Pennington are left-hand hitters. You've got Eaton, Chavez, Kubel, so we'll go to Eaton here with nobody out in the 6th. Navarro out to talk to Russin. Meanwhile, Tyler Skaggs, 86 pitches, 3 earned on 7 hits in 6. He did not walk a batter. The breaking stuff looked terrific. He got 6 strikeouts, but the 2 home run balls just killed him.
Falling behind in the count to an aggressive swinging team. Had to come in there with a fastball. Cubs made him pay a couple times tonight. The home run by Lake in the 5th, the home run by Navarro in the 2nd.
And now with Gregorius on second base and nobody out, Adam Eaton has a 2-0 count. Eaton in there at 5 for 25 on the year. It hit him. And that's a foul ball. And this is something you love to see, Bob. We saw Eaton had that perfect bunt single to get on base with 2 outs in the 8th inning Friday night. And this needs to become a weapon for him.
Yeah, but hit him right away in the batter's box. Came up and caught him on the left thigh as he was making his way down that first baseline. Pushed the ball into fair territory. Looked like a great bunt, but foul ball.
Two and one. Inside the Friday's Front Row Sports Grill, high above Alfonso Soriano. If you look down, you'll see Soriano playing left. There's a strike. It's full 3-2. Adam Eaton on the bench today. A.J. Pollock got the start in center field against the left-hander Russin. And there's the walk. Diamondbacks have 2 on and nobody out here in the 6th. 78 pitches now for Russ and only 46 for strikes. So you get a sense that he's sort of nearing the end here. In fact, it might be right now. And there's the move. But boy, Bob, this guy did a heck of a job tonight.
On short notice, filling in for Matt Garza after the trade. Couldn't ask for much more from their young lefty.
Diamondbacks have the tying run at the plate and nobody out. We'll take a break. Slump. Use a different bat. Take a different route to the ballpark. Try the socks. Or eat something else different before the game. You can tweet your vote at Fox Sports Arizona. BB, what did you do back in the day?
As a hitter, I found that none of it worked for me. But as a manager, that changing the route to the ballpark, I was very superstitious about that, depending on the day of the week it was, who we were playing against, what number the opposing manager wore. I had to stay off of those streets. I was a little...
let's get back to that one. That's interesting.
Yeah, a little crazy about that stuff. I mean, I used to take a side trip down 15th Street when I would come to the ballpark occasionally because I wore number 15. But when Bochy was in town, he wore number 15 too.
So you
can't go down 15th Street today.
Well, here's Blake Parker. And he inherits something of a mess here. Gregorius on second, Eaton on first. Nobody out, and A.J. Pollock, the leadoff man, is in there. Blake Parker, a 16th round draft pick by the Cubs in 06. Made his major league debut last year. This is his 20th appearance of the season. He's tossed scoreless relief in 13 of the previous 19 appearances as a Chicago Cub. And he's ahead 0-2 on A.J. Pollock. Got him to chase one in the dirt. Everyone moves up 90 feet. But with first base occupied, that's the strikeout. So Didi goes to third, and Adam Eaton is in scoring position. And that's the first out of the inning. Ooh, a lot of movement on that one.
Yeah, Parker has a good tailing fastball, a hard slider, and that curveball that he threw right there. Pitch that ends up in the dirt quite often on the 2-strike count. That time Navarro just couldn't keep it in front.
All right, so second and third now. Didi at third, Eaton at second. One away. Martin Prado is 0 for 2. Big chance here for the Diamondbacks to get right back in this thing, down 3-0. They've been out hit so far, 7-2.
Sunday mornings, I always went past the Immaculate Heart of Mary Church on my way to the ballpark.
Hey, it can't hurt.
Yeah, right over on the corner at 9th and Washington. There were a lot of different ways to get into the ballpark here, depending on which route you took. And
I have found that to be the case myself.
yeah.
Driven to right, Cole Gillespie is there. Didi at third, and he will tag. Eaton heads to third from second. The throw is not in time, and the Diamondbacks are on the board. It's a 3-1 ball game. Sacrifice fly for Martin Prado, his 37th RBI, and Adam Eaton moves up 90 feet to third base. Here's Goldie. Goldie 0 for 2 so far. He has grounded out, struck out looking his last time up. Paul Goldschmidt has hit safely in 12 of his last 14 games, batting .360 over that span. And a chance to drive in another run right here.
Great numbers with 2 outs and runners in scoring position. The situation he finds himself in right here. How about a big ball? How about getting on one right here?
Up the middle. It's under Barney. The run will score. Adam Eaton comes home, and there's RBI number 79 for Paul Goldschmidt. It's a 3-2 ball game.
We talked about this the week leading up to the All-Star game. Those guys that are run producers in the middle of the lineup will find a way to get runners on that plate. There's a little ground ball right over the mound. Barney with a diving effort just knocks it down but can't field it cleanly, and the Diamondbacks pull within a run.
Double by Didi, a walk to Adam Eaton, the pinch hitter. Pollock struck out. Prado sac fly delivered Gregorius after a wild pitch, and now Goldie has singled home Eaton. It's a 3-2 ball game. And here comes a little conversation. That's Chris Bosio out to the mound. More bullpen activity.
And James Russell's been really good for the Cubs this season. They're lone lefty in the bullpen, just like the Cubs with Tony Sipp. They only have the one left-hander, James Russell.
All this started with a sort of little bloop pop-up that Didi hit. It kind of dropped in shallow center between Castro and Lake. And then Eaton walked. Prado hit a ball well to right field for the sacrifice fly. Goldie, a little dribbler up the middle. But it's all been effective. Now a one-run ball game. Goldie on first with 2 outs. Aaron Hill. Popped him up. Darwin Barney in shallow right. Calls everyone off. And that's the inning, but the Diamondbacks get 2. It's a 3-2 ball game through 6.
Padres D-backs. It's a 5:10 start on Saturday, and you will be taking home the D-backs' new Luchador mask. It's courtesy of Circle K and Univision Arizona. So call now for tickets, 602-462-4600, or you can log on right now, dbacks.com/lucha. It is the must-have giveaway of the year. All the cool people, including Dennis Lamb here, are wearing them. Some of them even in our booth. Dennis is perched in his usual spot, getting the glasses on. Very intimidating look with the glasses, I have to say. Don't do the Gene Simmons thing. No, we have to stop that.
Yeah, we'll supply the mask, but you're responsible for your own tights and gold boots.
The thing about Dennis is he's actually more intimidating without the mask. And again, Doug Eddings is reminding Josh Colmenter, the new Diamondbacks pitcher, that both benches have been warned about pitching inside. So here is Colmenter leading the National League relief corps with 54 innings pitched this year, his 28th appearance. And he is 8th among National League relievers with 49 strikeouts. Dave Sapelt will hit for the pitcher spot here to lead off the 7th. Adam Eaton, who pinch hit for Tyler Skaggs in the home half of the 6th, stays in the game. And he replaces A.J. Pollock in center field. So Colmenter on the mound and Eaton in center. This is Dave Sapelt hitting for the pitcher. The Sapelt show, if you will.
You lost me.
There's the strikeout. Josh Colmenter ends the Sapelt show. One away. Boy, your head just kind of perked up there. What the heck is he talking about again?
Trying to figure out this lineup here and heard the Sapelt show.
It just ended.
Okay. That's good.
So here's the top of the order. Junior Lake.
Watch the first pitch.
Last time up, he hit his first career big league home run, and it was a shot out to left center on a terrace out there. Didn't even have time to tell you that Dave Sapelt is a Coastal Carolina Chanticleer.
There you go.
So we got that in, which is good.
Coastal Carolina was also the alma mater of a good friend of mine, Kurt Manwaring, catcher for the San Francisco Giants, Colorado Rockies, now a minor league hitting instructor for the Giants. He was a Chanticleer. Of course, back in the day, we called them the Chandeliers just to upset him.
Josh Colmenter not in time to get the speedy Lake. Boy, we've seen him use his speed and his power here in this ball game. He's got a lot of raw tools. We saw the power surges last time up, and once again we saw those wheels.
Kind of an odd, not really odd, but a very nice collection of tools that this young man has. He's got the speed to leg out infield hits and bunt hits. He's got the power to drive the ball out of the ballpark.
This is a guy who's barely played above Double-A ball, but boy, he has just looked sensational here. I mentioned that he hit the first pitch he saw in the big leagues for a double against the Rockies' Jorge De La Rosa.
I mentioned some of his minor league stolen base numbers, and a lot of those stolen bases came on delayed steals, something he's very good at. Takes his primary lead as Josh Colmenter delivers the ball to home plate. He'll take a couple of big shuffle steps towards second base, and as the ball is getting into the hitting area, only then will he break for second base.
Well, Junior Lake played 103 games last year at Double-A Tennessee, hit .279, 10 home runs, and 21 steals. He was with Triple-A Iowa this year before he was called up. He was hitting .295.
Suffered a broken rib in spring training. His season really didn't get started until June.
That one is driven to right. Gerardo Parra is there to track it down. Lake back to first, 2 down. This is Junior Lake back in the 5th. And this thing gets off the bat in a hurry.
Over 104 miles per hour coming off the bat up into the second deck out there just to the left to straightaway center. That was a bomb.
And he had the pitcher Russin ahead of him on the bases, and he caught him, I think, before they even got to third base. He was in a big hurry on that home run trot.
Anthony Rizzo now. Rizzo's 0 for 3. Struck out his last time up. Rizzo has been very much up and down this year. He belted 8 home runs in April, but hit only 224, and then bounced back with a pretty good May. Hit almost 300 in May, but then it was back down 231 in June. He's hitting only 200 for July, less than that now. And there has been some concern in his young career so far that Bob, maybe his swing is a little too long.
Well, they've been working with it ever since he got to the major leagues. Actually, they started working with him when he was in AAA with the Cubs in Iowa right after the trade. He used to hold his hands very high up near his back shoulder, and he's actually got him kind of in a midway position now. There's a delayed steal.
And Miguel Montero throws out Junior Lake. That ends the inning. It's Miggy time. That ends the top of the 7th. It's Joe Borowski time as well. He'll join us. CenturyLink Eurolink to what's next. Miggy, Cody, and Gerardo Parra in the Diamondbacks 7th. It's 3-2 at Chase Field. To start the 7th inning for the Cubs, it's a bachelor party here at Chase Field. Sure, why not? Put on your D-backs t-shirts and come on out. Although, you know, if you're going to have a bachelor party, Joe Borowski, don't you get the pool?
I would think so.
It's kind of a no-brainer.
Sure, absolutely. They got to inquire about that.
We were talking, Joe, about Tyler Skaggs' night, and he pitched exceptionally well, except for 2 mistake balls on the home runs.
What I noticed about him tonight was it was a tale of 2 pitches. He got hurt with his fastball because in fastball counts he did not locate it. He missed over the plate, and he got hurt twice by it. Yeah. I thought his curveball was excellent tonight. I thought he was actually making Cubs players look almost ridiculous out there with some of those curveballs he was throwing.
Yeah, 6 strikeouts.
And that's the thing with Tyler is he has to learn that even though it's fastball counts, you can still throw a fastball, but you have to be able to locate it. And that's what by far night and day about him tonight was he didn't locate his fastball consistently.
You either need to locate that fastball in those counts or throw something other than a fastball.
Miguel Montero, Cody Ross, Gerardo Parra in a 3-2 ball game in the 7th. And Joe, you get the sense that almost every start here by a Diamondbacks pitcher, whether they're a veteran or a young guy, is an audition, maybe not just for the rest of this year, but for the next 2 or 3 seasons. And so far, I think you can make the argument that their best pitchers have been the young guys, like certainly Corbin, but Delgado, who's kept them in games and looked good yesterday, and Tyler Skaggs, who pitched well here tonight, essentially.
Sure, and the biggest thing is what you want younger guys to realize is that you're not only auditioning for your own team. There's 29 other teams out there that have eyes on you as well. And
trade deadline's less than 10 days away.
Exactly, and your ultimate goal, of course, is to make it to the big leagues with your team, but your ultimate goal is to make it to the big leagues somehow, some way. and you're always on audition when you're out there, and it's just good to see they're getting great experience, and you see they're just getting more and more comfortable out there, and that's the key to going out there and being successful. You have to feel like you belong in the big leagues.
Miggy to center. Junior Lake is there. Well hit, but right at him, one away. So Mike Fetters right behind home plate. Gentleman in the good-looking guy in the gray shirt right behind home plate. There's Fett right next to the young lady with the radar gun. Fett knows where to sit.
A lot of scouts in the ballpark tonight. The lunchroom was well packed. That's how you know when the scouts are in town, because they don't miss a meal.
That's Fett. He is behind the plate for every game, charting the pitches. That's for the Diamondbacks. And then, Bob, the guys around Fett are the opposition?
Either advanced scouts for teams that the Diamondbacks are going to be playing in the upcoming days and weeks, or major league scouts that are here to evaluate talent in the event that there's a trade brewing. It's not always the marquee players that scouts are here to see. I mean, everybody knows Matt Garza. Everybody knows the veteran guys and what they're capable of doing. But, you know, the players to be named later, or the so-called throw-ins on a trade, sometimes that's what they're here evaluating.
And you can read all the reports you want, right? But you have to, pass the eye test as well, I guess.
Yeah, some of those guys may have been here to see Matt Garza pitch tonight. And
Matt Garza. Kevin Towers.
That will not happen here at Chase Field tonight.
Joe, what do you think KT's going to do?
I think he has to do something to stay in this race, because there's no denying that the Dodgers they've really found themselves.
That drops in. That's a fair ball, and Cody Ross is in there at second base. It dropped just inside the line, and Cody has his 13th double of the season, and the Diamondbacks have the tying run in scoring position with one away here in the 7th. Great effort there by Anthony Rizzo, but he couldn't quite get it. And that's the second time, guys, that the Diamondbacks have sort of dropped one into no man's land for a double. Gregorius had the first one.
Yeah, that's a play that normally Darwin Barney, the second baseman, would be over there to make the play, but he was cheating up the middle with Cody Ross at the plate. He had a long way to go to get there, and once again, a Diamondbacks hustling out of the batter's box ends up at second base.
And we saw earlier in the game when they had a chance to get 2 runs in, they did. They got Didi and Adam Eaton home, and now the tying runs at second with 1 away for Gerardo Parra. Parra's 0 for 2, and he is 2 for his last 33. Joe, what about the idea that for you, is this Gerardo Parra just going through a rough patch, or is this Gerardo Parra who's approaching and in fact surpassing career highs in terms of playing time, plate appearances?
I think it's just a rough patch for him. Most players go through it. Some aren't as prolonged as he's going through right now, but he's proven over time that he can take the at-bat, the workload that takes with playing every day. But right now, it seems like he can't buy a hit, so he's trying everything he can in order to get on there. And a lot of times it's that strange play, like the play that Cody just had. If he gets one of those, then it seems like he strings a few hits after that. But he's just going through a rough patch right now. He's just got to stay calm. Don't try to overdo too much and get yourself even deeper in that hole. Just let it come natural.
You're right. The last one he hit was it goes in the book as a fly out to right field, but that was the ball that he hit down the line that Gillespie tracked down and that Cody Ross was doubled up on.
And you look at it as, all right, I didn't get a hit in that at bat, but I had a good approach to it. I put good wood on it, and you build from that. So you're not trying to change too much. Now it's just a matter of ball placement, getting it somewhere where nobody's playing.
Trying to get that tying run home from second. I mean, he's already equaled his totals from last year in terms of hits and home runs. I mean, that's how much he's played this season, much more so than earlier in his career. That would have been nice down the line, taking it the other way. But
that breaking ball up there at the letters, just hanging out there over the plate. Parra did the right thing, didn't try to pull it, just tried to shoot it down that left field line for extra bases. Just foul.
And there's nothing in Parra's track record to suggest that he fades in the second half. In fact, his career batting average after the All-Star break is identical to his career average before the break, both .281. Missed inside there, and it's full 3-2. Didi Gregorius, who is 2 for 2, is on deck. I'm digging that look on Didi. It's old school. Were you a high sock guy, a low sock guy?
I was not a high sock
Couldn't
guy. It was not
off,
a good look on me.
We had no choice with the Giants. While Al Rosen was a general manager, we had to show 4 inches of stirrups. So the pants usually were very close to the knees.
Ball 4.
That's if we wanted to play in the big leagues. If you wanted to wear your pants all the way down, you could go to AAA.
So now the go-ahead run is on for the Diamondbacks with 1 away in the 7th inning. And the batter is Didi Gregorius. He singled in the 3rd, doubled and scored in the 6th.
Well, we've been talking about the Garza trade tonight, and the guy on the mound right now, his name has been kicked around in some trade rumors. James Russell's been one of the better left-handed setup guys in baseball for the last 2 or 3 years, having another great year this year.
Tell you what, right now with all these teams in the wild card race with the extra playoff spot, you can get a king's ransom for guys like this. Everyone is looking for bullpen help. Every contender out there, especially from the left-hand side. And Theo has been known to work the phones. Theo and Jed Hoyer. Theo Epstein has been charged with turning this franchise around. Have they bought in yet, BB, in Chicago in terms of the new regime and the direction?
I think it's kind of split. I mean, there's a segment of Cub fans that think every year is the year. And they don't want to hear about rebuilding. They don't want to hear about restocking your minor league system. But I think people that have watched the failure over the years, and we're talking going back to 1908 since they won a World Series, I think some people realize that at some point you got to break it down and start over again.
I mean, if you go on their website at MLB.com, and now they're going to come out here and take a look at Russell maybe. The Cubs website has the word committed in giant letters right at the top, so they are committed to winning and turning their program around through scouting, drafting, and developing. A little discussion now out there on the mound. What's this about, Joe? You got the whole organization involved here.
Yeah, he may have seen something that he wants to remind him of or talk to him about this at bat, let him know what the situation is, how they want to attack him.
So 1-1 count on Didi Gregorius. Cody Ross is at second. Gerardo Parra at first. Diamondbacks have been out hit 8-4. They trail it 3-2 here. Tying run at second. Go ahead run at first with 1 away. After 101 years, he gave up. He switched to the Diamondbacks.
A wise man.
Here's the 1-1.
We like to see these patient at bats. We were talking about it before the ball game, and I don't have any statistical data to back this up, but it seems like when the Diamondbacks have had their best offensive rallies, there's been a couple of walks involved.
Sure. Yep. It was certainly the case in San Francisco. Tony Sipp, the left-hander, is throwing. In fact, now that Yuri De La Rosa was sent back down to make room for Tyler Skaggs on the roster, Tony Sipp is the only left-hander back there. And Anthony Rizzo, who was up when Lake was thrown out trying to steal, will lead off the 8th inning for Chicago. So that is likely Tony Sipp's man right there. It's a good at bat here by Didi. And he's another guy, Joe, you're kind of waiting to sort of come around a little bit again here.
Yeah, he started out on fire, came back to earth a little bit.
Which was inevitable. He wasn't going to hit 385 his whole career. 2-2. Good take by Didi. He runs it full. And Adam Eaton is in the on-deck circle. He came into the game to play center field. Pitcher spot is now the leadoff spot in the order. 3-2 to Gregorius. It's in the dirt, and the bases are full of Diamondbacks. Back-to-back walks issued by James Russell. And now it's a bases-loaded jam with one away in the 7th. Cody Ross at third. He's the tying run. Gerardo Parra the go-ahead run at second. Didi Gregorius the pad run at first.
Right here in this situation, you look for Eaton just to hit the ball somewhere. With his speed, unless the ball's hit really hard in the infield, they're going to have a very difficult time turning 2.
0-1.
Yeah, if you're Eaton, you just want to put the ball in play, preferably deep in the air to the outfield. And if you're James Russell, you're going for the strikeout right here.
We've only seen it once all year that I can recall with Didi, but right now, how about bunting? Drop one down and tie it up. There's a good chance Eaton beats it out. Popped him up. Shallow left center. Lake wants it. Calls off Soriano. Cody Ross will bluff. And that's the second out. And now the pitcher spot is up, and Will Nieves will come and hit. And he has been a tremendous bat for the Diamondbacks off the bench this year. 5 for 13 with 4 RBIs as a pinch hitter. And Dale Swain will counter here and go to his right-hander. Eric Chavez is right there, so maybe there's a counter move here by Kurt Gibson as Nieves goes back into the dugout. We'll find out when we come back. Bases full here.
Spoken like a true veteran, Eric Chavez, talking about the race in the NL West. Of course, the Dodgers knocked off the Jays earlier tonight, 14-5, but there are a lot of veteran guys in that clubhouse, and they're only concerned about what this team can do, and they got something brewing right now here in the bottom of the 7th inning, guys.
Matt Guerrier, the former Twin and Dodger, is in there. Picked up by the Cubs on July 2nd in the Carlos Marmol deal, and Eric Chavez will hit in the pitcher spot. Two outs, bases full. Chavez at .299 this year. He is 4 for 8 as a pinch hitter this season with a double, a home run, and 4 RBIs. Bases full, 2 outs. Diamondbacks need a run here. Lifted in the air to center. Junior Lake tracks it down with that speed, and the Diamondbacks will leave the bases loaded. We are through 7. The Cubs still lead at 3-2.
CenturyLink, your link to what's next. By Mazda, we believe if it's not worth driving, it's not worth building. And by Jack in the Box, go big at a Jack in the Box near you with Jack's new Big Stack Burger.
Well, Diamondbacks had their chances there. Bases loaded with one out in the seventh, but they can't get the tying run across. So it's still 3-2 as we start the eighth. And Tony Sipp, the left-hander, the only left-hander back there right now for Kirk Gibson, will open up the inning against Anthony Rizzo. Tony Sipp hasn't pitched in a while. He last worked in 2 games of the Brewers series here at Chase Field. That was, well, just before the All-Star break. His last appearance July 13th, in fact, which was a week ago Saturday. This is his 43rd appearance of the year. And an ERA just under 4. He'll face Anthony Rizzo, who was 0 for 3, struck out his last time up. Bullpen is still busy for the Diamondbacks, so there's a pretty good chance that this is Sipp's only hitter here. And they'll try and stay away from Rizzo as good power.
You know, it's not really that urgent to only have one lefty in the bullpen if you have right-handers that are capable of getting left-handed hitters out. And the Diamondbacks are fortunate in that respect. Cole Mentor has good numbers against lefties. Will Harris has done really well against lefties. David Hernandez, J.J. Putz, Brad Ziegler, all those right-handers have really good numbers against left-handed hitting. So it's not as urgent to have that second lefty in the bullpen, although that is a real nice luxury to have.
And boy, Yuri De La Rosa did a really nice job in his brief appearance up here. He got a huge out yesterday in San Francisco when he got Brandon Belt to pop up on one pitch with the tying run at third base and 2 outs in the 6th inning.
We were talking about Rizzo's approach at the plate and how it changed immediately when he came over to the Cubs. He used to hold his hands very high over his left shoulder. They had him drop down below his belt. He was holding his hands way down near waist level, and now he's kind of found a midpoint.
And there's a leadoff walk here in the 8th. And we'll see if this is Tony Sipp's only hitter, and in fact it will be. Here comes Kirk Gibson, and he's made the move. He'll go to J.J. Putz to face Alfonso Soriano. So it's been a while since we've seen Tony Sipp. He'll work to only one batter, and he issues the base on balls to opening 8th. Pitching change to Chase Field. We will take a break. Diamondbacks trail at 3-2. Fans, the Fox Sports Arizona Fan Express, brought to you by Cox Communications and Fry's Food Stores, is ready to take you to a Diamondbacks game. It's on the way to Chase Field August 11th or September 1st. So stop by this month's participating Cox retail store in Tucson or Fry's Food in Globe, and you can enter to win 2 seats on the Fan Express bus and get on board. Come down to Chase Field and join us for Diamondbacks game. For all the information you need, just check out foxsportsarizona.com and get on the bus. Here is J.J. Putz with Anthony Rizzo on first and nobody out here in the 8th. It'll work to Alfonso Soriano, who was 0 for 3, struck out twice. J.J. last worked on Saturday in San Francisco. Gave up a single and issued a pair of walks. As the search continues for innings for J.J. to build that arm strength back up, and he's had a number of reps in all kinds of different scenarios. Since the blown save against the Mets at Citi Field, that was on July 1st, which was right after he returned from the elbow injury. J.J. has appeared in 6 games and worked 5 innings, all scoreless. He's given up only 2 hits, 3 walks, and 3 strikeouts.
And recently we've seen J.J. go a lot more to that slider. It was kind of his 3rd best pitch behind his fastball and his splitter, but he's starting to incorporate more of those sliders just to give the hitters another option to think about.
Well, that was his big pitch when he was the lights-out closer for the Seattle Mariners, and he said he stopped throwing it after the elbow surgery in '09. And that's when he really went to the splitter a little bit more. And he admitted maybe he was a little afraid to let the slider go after the surgery. But now he's felt good enough to start using it more. Two and one to Soriano.
Now Rizzo, not your prototypical base stealer over there at first, but he's tried 8 times this year. He's been successful 5 times. Really all you have to do is pay a little bit of attention. Make sure he's not getting a walking lead.
Right back to the mound. He tries to barehand it. And he makes the throw in time to get Soriano as Rizzo advances to second.
You wonder sometimes why a pitcher would use his bare hand on a play like that. Balls hit back to the mound. Guys just react as quickly as they can, and they've had a lot of bullets come back their direction. So it's understandable that they overreact at times, even when the ball's not hit that hard.
So they get the out at first. Rizzo now in scoring position. 1 away for Cody Ransom. Ransom is 0 for 3. Popped up his last time. Ransom has made 31 starts for the Cubs this year, and in those 31 starts he's hit .235, but he does have 8 home runs. Diamondbacks will open up the home half of the 8th inning with their 2, 3, and 4 hitters. That'll be Prado, Goldschmidt, and Hill. After they had their chance in the 7th, left the bases loaded. JJ's in no hurry out there, trying to sort of rediscover the control and the command. Is the split working better? Is it the slider today? How's the fastball location? How's the velocity? A lot of temperature checks with JJ these days every time out. .92, low and away. That'll work. 2 and 1. trying to keep everything down. Charlie Nagy keeping a close eye. JJ, 36 years old, his 11th big league season. Missed away there, and he walks him. So Ransom gets a one-out walk, first and second now. Second walk of the inning, issued by the Diamondbacks bullpen. And now, why is Didi out there, Bob?
That's a good question.
I got him stumped.
I mean, you know, when a batter's in the box with a runner at second base and you have to go through the sequence of signs so many times, you get a little concerned that maybe that runner at second base is seeing something. Maybe he picked up your signs, and you certainly don't want him to relay anything to the hitter at the plate. That's usually the reason a middle infielder will come into the mound meeting, is if you're going to change the signs, the infielders want to know which signs you're using.
So now they'll flip Navarro around, and he'll hit from the left side. He homered in the second. He was hit by a pitch in the fourth. And then tapped back to the mound his last time up, all against Tyler Skaggs, the left-hander. And now against the right-hander Putz, he'll bat from the left-hand side.
You mentioned it earlier. He's a natural right-handed hitter. Was hitting .536 from the right side of the plate in limited at-bats this year. Only .214 as a left-handed hitter.
Started switch hitting when he was only 13 years old in Venezuela. Well, so far, Bob, J.J. Putz has thrown 11 pitches, 8 of them balls.
You understandably want to be careful in this situation, but you still have to throw some strikes. You mentioned he's really trying to keep the ball down. Normally, if you keep that ball down around the knees or below, you're going to get some ground balls, and that's what you want right here.
Do you think part of that is gun shy? Because he's given up some big hits this year with the hang and split or a slider here and there.
It could be. You wouldn't expect that from a veteran player. I mean, JJ's given up homers before. He understands that's part of the game, but the surest way to give up home runs is to fall behind in the count and be forced to throw a strike.
Gun shy might be too strong a word, but maybe certainly extra careful.
Yeah.
Given the way the year has gone. Will Harris is now throwing. There's a strike, 2-2. Anthony Rizzo, the runner at second. Cody Ransom at first. Tony Sipp walked Rizzo, the only batter he faced. J.J. Putz came on, gets Soriano to tap back to the mound, moving Rizzo up, and then he walked Ransom. 2-2 to Navarro.
Good stop that time by Miggy. I'll tell you, got to keep an eye on Anthony Rizzo. I mentioned he doesn't run a lot, only 5 out of 8 this season in stolen base attempts, but he has tried to steal third base twice. Been successful once. Matter of fact, the Cubs as a team have tried to steal third base 11 times this season. Now, the fact that Didi is shading up the middle of the field just a little bit for Navarro makes it a little tougher for Rizzo to get a big enough lead to try to steal third.
JJ is really struggling with a command right now. Just not crisp out there. He's run it full to Deanna Navarro. Here they go. Swing and a miss. Montero's throw. And there's the strike him out, throw him out to end the inning. Once again, it's Miguel Montero. It is Miggy time. He threw out Lake to end the 7th. He throws out Rizzo to end the 8th. And we'll go to the home half. The strike him out, throw him out. It's 3-2 Cubs. But he got a big strikeout and a throw him out to get out of a jam there. Let's make it our Chaz Roberts air conditioning cool play of the game.
Boy, anytime you can get a double play, you bail yourself out of a situation. I don't care if it's a ground ball that your infielders turn or a strike him out, throw him out double play right here. That is a cool play.
Ooh, how about the trash talking from the Diamondback Nation? They're fired up here at Chase Field. Yeah! Pedro Strop is the new pitcher for the Cubs. He started the year in Baltimore, where he was just an absolute train wreck. 0-3 with an ERA over 7 in 29 appearances. The Cubs got him from Baltimore in a 4-player trade July 2nd, and since he's been with Chicago, he's been terrific. He has began his Cubs career with 8 scoreless appearances over 6 2/3. So a change of scenery has worked wonders here. He'll work to Martin Prado, Paul Goldschmidt, and Aaron Hill in the 8th inning. Diamondbacks down a run. See Prado just drive one here. 96.
Strop has a good fastball. Average fastball sits right at 96. Throws a hard slider and a split-fingered fastball. Yeah, there was some speculation. Of course, Cub fans get a little giddy when somebody comes onto the scene and puts on the blue for the first time.
The optimism after a century kicks in, huh?
Yeah.
Shot to second, Darwin Barney. He is as steady as they come down there, the Gold Glover. And that's the first out.
Everybody's assuming that Kevin Gregg will be traded at the deadline, and the question then is who closes games, and a lot of people think that Pedro Strop is the guy that could step into that role.
Well, I think the correct answer is anyone other than Carlos Marmol, who is now a Dodger, for no apparent reason. Goldie RBI single his last time up. He's 1 for 3. He's now hit safely in 13 of his last 15 games. And is out front of the National League RBI race with 79. Drives that one hard to right. Paul Goldschmidt 2 for 4. Tying run aboard with 1 away in the 8th. And the familiar back in black walk-up music of Aaron Hill. I like that. That's a good choice. That's kind of in your wheelhouse, isn't it?
Yeah.
AC/DC.
Multi-generational right there. Everybody recognizes that riff.
Rizzo will hold Goldschmidt at first. There's a strike 0-1. Hard to quantify where Aaron Hill is with his swing this season because he's missed so much time. He's only got to play in 33 games with that injury. And he was swinging the bat so well when he got hurt. Not quite sure where he is now with the timing and the rhythm and things like that. Right there's a good example.
Yeah. Judging on that swing, he's not where he wants to be.
Well, if you look at the numbers, what's happening right now with Aaron is he's hitting a lot more balls on the ground and fewer in the air. And he's so good at driving the ball, that's not what you're looking for. His percentage of ground balls last year was 34%. It's almost 46 this year. And at the same time, the fly ball rate for Aaron has dropped 10%. So you wonder how much of that might be related to the hand injury. They're still not sure if Aaron will need surgery at the end of the year. It's up to him.
And you mentioned he's only played in 33 ball games. That's about the length of spring training. So he is probably right now where most guys are when they're coming out of spring training. Now, of course, a lot more at bats than you would normally get in a spring training season.
He missed 63 games. That's a long time to sit out.
And hand and wrist injuries always take longer than you expect them to.
You can see that thick pad on the top of that batting glove he wears to protect that fracture in the left hand, a non-union fracture. They call it that because it never really did heal. And so they'll take a look after the year and decide if they need surgery. Strop getting frustrated out there. He's run it full. Miguel Montero on deck. Another close ball game here at Chase Field. We'll be here all week. Come on out. 4 against the Cubs and 3 versus San Diego. There goes Goldie, swing and a miss. And there's the throw from Navarro, and Goldschmidt is in there with a stolen base, his 10th of the year. For a moment there, it looked like the Cubs would get the strike him out, throw him out, but Goldschmidt, he's sneaky fast. He got in there. And now the tying run is in scoring position with 2 down. Boy, the throw beat him.
A really tough angle for Angel Hernandez to see the tag. He's standing in the middle of the infield. Looked like they did get the tag down on Goldie before he got his foot on the bag. Navarro's upset. He can't believe it. It's kind of a tough angle for Angel Hernandez to really see when that tag was applied. But as it is, 10th stolen base of the season for Goldie.
Diamondbacks looking for another come-from-behind win against Dale Swaim's Cubs. Arizona, 27 come-from-behind victories this year. That is second most in the National League, behind only the Braves. Here's Miguel Montero. It gets through Navarro, and Goldie goes to third. It snuck through the 5-hole.
Just didn't come up. That's why you block that 5-hole. Don't try to catch the ball. As soon as you come up with the mid, it opens that hole up between the shin guards, and that one scooted right through.
Another chance here for the Diamondbacks. They need 1 run. They left the bases loaded with 1 out in the 7th, and now Goldie's at third, the tying run with 2 away. Another one in the dirt there. 1 more of those would be just fine.
And Goldie can really get a nice lead down there at third base, because Ransom with Miguel Montero at the plate is playing way off the third base line. That allowed Goldie to really take a big secondary lead down the line should another one get away.
Miggy over his last week has hit .348. Lays off that one. It's 3-0. Cody Ross is on deck. Now, if he tries to bounce one here and get Miggy to chase, he might bounce it a little bit too much and bring in the tying run. Sticks with a heater at 96, and there's the home run swing from Miguel Montero. And Bob, that's something that you talk about a lot. When somebody throws it 100, he swings 100.
And you have to know your own strengths and weaknesses. Miguel Montero is not a good high ball hitter. He's a deadly low ball hitter from the middle of the plate in. And on a 3-0 count, you should be looking for the one dream pitch that you want. On a 3-1 count, he pulls the trigger late and fouls one into his own dugout. See, that's just a bad mental approach in this at bat.
And now it's full 3-2. Gibby getting a little frustrated in there.
And that's the kind of swing you expect to take when you're down in the count 0-2, 1-2, and the guy tries to throw you a backdoor breaking ball. Just foul it off and stay alive. Not on a 3-1 count.
Here's the 3-2. Diamondbacks will leave the tying run at third here in the 8th. We'll go to the 9th. They still trail at 3-2. question for you tonight. And I like this. 31% say change the socks. You're a different route to the ballpark, BP. Got a lot of votes as well.
I think a lot of fans get involved with that route to the ballpark stuff, just like players and coaches and managers do.
I love the Johnny U high tops on Didi with the high socks. It's a good look. Cody goes a little more disco with the red and the black shoes. New pitcher for the Diamondbacks to open the ninth inning here is Will Harris. He worked twice in the Giants series in San Francisco over the weekend. His last appearance was Saturday. This is his 30th appearance of the year. Saturday against the Giants, he worked one inning, gave up a walk and had 3 strikeouts, including some big Ks of Buster Posey and Pablo Sandoval. And he looks better and better every time we see him.
We talk about consistency with your stuff, and you'd have to say Will Harris would be right at the top of the list. You know, just pounding away at the outside corner with that cut fastball. Got the big overhand curve. We've seen him throw that cutter to the inside part of the plate on righties from time to time.
He'll work to Cole Gillespie, Darwin Barney, and the pitcher spot here. 7, 8, 9 in the Cubs ninth. Diamondbacks have been out hit 8-5. They trail at 3-2. Popped him up, and that's behind us. Cole Gillespie 1 for 3, single back in the 4th. Back with you tomorrow here from Chase Field. Diamondbacks and Cubs pregame show starts at 6 in Fox Sports Arizona. Bob Brentley back from his extended All-Star break.
I was on assignment.
Yes, you were. You were assigned to the barbecue.
That's right.
And you were diligent about your assignment.
I will file a report later.
Well, Gonzo was with us in San Francisco, spreading Diamondback goodwill as he tends to do. The ambassador of all things Sedona Red.
His assignment was to come back with at least a series win, hopefully a sweep, but came up just a little short. I have to talk to him about that.
Well, it's funny because the game that they had the real chance to win on Saturday was much like tonight. They had the bases loaded a number of times and just couldn't get that extra run in. Didi Gregorius sort of stopped back there, Bob, and waited for the high hop, then came in on that one. Didi's halfway through, kind of froze here to make sure that he got the right read on where that ball was going to carom off the grass. All right, now he comes in.
Still has that cannon arm, even though that throw was in the dirt. It was an easy short hop for Paul Goldschmidt to handle over there at first.
Darwin Barney looks at a strike, 0-1. Nate Shearholz is on deck. He'll hit for the pitcher. Will Harris has been scored on just twice in his last 25 appearances. He has been terrific. Over that span, last 25 outings, a record of 2-0 and an ERA of 0.83. And there he is. The guy that got off the scrap heap. Rockies got him as a 9th round pick in 06. He was waived by Colorado in April. The A's picked him up. They put him right back on waivers 3 days after that, and KT grabbed him. A off speed pitch, and Barney's way out in front. Last year, Will Harris made his big league debut with the Rockies. He was 27 years old. He appeared in 20 games. And really, frankly, didn't do all that great. 17 2/3, 18 runs, 27 hits. But boy, he's been a different guy up here. Cutter curveball. Fought it off and took it the other way. Barney aboard. He's 1 for 4.
So Barney aboard with one away, and Nate Shearholz will pinch hit for the pitcher's spot here. Junior Lake is on deck. He'll be our APS Energy All-Star tonight. 3 for 4, including his first big league home run. Shearholz only plays against right-handers, so a good pinch hit opportunity for him. Signed with the Cubs as a free agent last December after the Giants traded him to the Phillies at the deadline last year. He's at .266 on the season, 11 home runs. Strictly a platoon guy these days. .275 against righties, .192 versus lefties. Go down to first. They got a play on Barney, and he's just back in time.
Talk about that pickoff at first base all the time. It's a little easier with a left-handed hitter. You can see Shearholz kind of screens Miggy's pickoff attempt. Barney sliding back in on his belly just ahead of the tag. You kind of use that left-handed hitter as a duck blind so the runner doesn't see you come out of the chute getting ready to throw down to first base.
Drop that one in there for a strike. 2-1. Over his last 15 games, all starts, Nate Shearholz has hit just .143. He is really slumping right now. His numbers as a pinch hitter, pretty productive guy. Nate the Great, they used to call him in San Francisco.
He's a nice piece on a good team. He runs well. He plays solid defense in the outfield. As you said, at this stage of his career, he's probably better suited to be a platoon player in the outfield. But, you know, in the National League, there's a lot of opportunities for defensive changes late in the game, double switches, pinch hitting opportunities.
Well, as we said, the Giants traded him at the deadline last season. He went to Philadelphia along with one of the Giants' top prospects, the catcher Tommy Joseph. That was in the Hunter Pence deal.
Now the Giants are looking for outfield help. Wouldn't be a bit surprised to see Shearholz get traded back to the Giants.
Broken bat, and it's over the head of Goldie for a base hit. Barney will stop at second. The bat head went flying, and it was just over the reach of Goldie's glove. Talk about dying a hero.
Boy, scary moment there. That bat went whirly birding up into the stands behind the on-deck circle on the first base side there. Boy. He's just left holding a tent peg there. Just a little piece of bat in his hands as the barrel went flying up into the stands. Just over Paul Goldschmidt. Paul didn't even reach the outfield grass until the second hop.
Looks like everybody's okay. The Chase Field staff attending to a couple down there. Baxter's down there. Everybody appears fine. Thank goodness for that. Great job by our Chase Field staff here to make sure everybody's okay. And here is Junior Lake. Had a big day. 2 singles and a home run. His first big league homer. It's a first pitch strike with a breaking ball. 0-1. Junior Lake from the Dominican Republic just called up. Dale Swaim said that since he's been with the Cubs, he's the first kid that Swaim has seen that's come up and really looked like a big leaguer. And we've seen, BB, we've seen the raw tools, that's for sure. He can hit with some pop. He can cover a lot of ground out there in center field. He can run. 23 years old, just turned 23 in March.
Well, not to belabor the point, very much a free swinger. He's not going to take very many walks. Just like Starlin Castro, Alfonso Soriano. And
that one is hard to left. Drops in front of Cody Ross for a base hit. They will wave in Darwin Barney, and the throw is offline. Boy, Junior Lake's big day continues. And it's a 4-2 Cubs lead. Lake has driven in 3 of the 4 Chicago runs. First Cubs since Andy Pafko in 43 with 9 hits in his first 4 big league games.
just to finish the point about Junior Lake and Soriano and Starlin Castro all being free swingers, and the Cubs want to go the other direction. They want to see some grinding at bats. They want to see on base percentage. They want to see guys take walks.
Well, there's the old expression, right? You don't walk off the island.
Oh, that's true.
And so Charles Nagy is out to the mound to have a conversation with Will Harris. I mean, that ball was really well hit, but other than that, Will's been fine this inning. You've got Shearholtz at second and Lake at first now. A run is in with 1 out. That's now 11 hits for the Cubs, only 5 for the Diamondbacks. Here is Starlin Castro. He's 2 for 4. Doubled in the first, singled in the fifth. Shearholtz at second and Junior Lake at first. Castro 4 for 5 yesterday against Colorado. Rolls that one to third. Prado has the force, and he turns the double play. Martin Prado with a nice defensive play right there, but the Cubs get a run in to make it 4-2 as we head to the home half of the ninth. CenturyLink, your link to what's next. It will be Ross, Parra, and Gregorius for the Diamondbacks. Fox Sports 1 will be your home for great live sports, all the news and highlights you want, and shows and specials that only Fox would bring you. America's new sports network, Fox Sports 1, comes your way August 17th. Bottom of the ninth coming your way right now. Diamondbacks need at least 2 here, and they'll face the closer du jour for the Cubs. This is the veteran, Kevin Gregg.
18 out of 20 in save opportunities this go-round with the Cubs. He was with them earlier and basically got booed out of town for his inability to close out ball games, but bounced around a little bit, released by the Dodgers, signed by the Cubs, and doing a nice job for him this time.
Cody Ross looks at a strike, 0-1. Ross, Parra, Gregorius, 6, 7, and 8 here in the Arizona ninth. Down 4-2. They've been out hit 11-5. And keep in mind also, fans, that the Dodgers were big winners in Toronto tonight. 14-5. They beat the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays helping out with 5 errors in the game. And so as of this moment, the Diamondbacks and Dodgers are tied for the NL West lead. A loss here, and that'll be it. The Dodgers will lead the division. Diamondbacks have been in first place since May 17th when they won at Miami. They had a 4.5 game lead on July the 7th. And if this result doesn't change, they will drop a half game behind LA into second place. Ross is retired, 1 away. Here's Gerardo Parra.
Give you some other National League West scores earlier. The Padres beat the Brewers 5-3 this afternoon. You mentioned the Dodgers all over Toronto.
Yeah, they beat up Josh Johnson.
Colorado got beat by Miami, and the Giants are down 11-0 to the Reds in the top of the 8th. How about this? Tim Lincecum last time out threw a no-no, 148 pitches.
Yeah, well.
Tonight, 3 2/3, 9 hits, 8 runs, gave up 3 homers.
The Johan Santana effect. Gerardo Parra. Johan threw, 132 or something like that in his no-hitter for the Mets, the first ever Mets no-hitter, and was, frankly, never the same pitcher after that, may never be again. And Lincecum is a free agent at the end of this year. His name is swirling in trade talks. That may change now that he's got all those miles in his arm after the no-no. People like Lincecum as a closer, maybe in Detroit or someplace like that. That's what I read on the interweb about the freak. 0-2 to Parra. He's 0 for 2. He walked his last time up. We've got a lot of outfield pieces right now. Looking at Parra's playing time and A.J. Pollock trying to get regular playing time, and Adam Eaton who's come in the game. You have Jason Kubel, Cody Ross. How do you sort all that out?
That's a good question, because those guys have been productive at times, at other times not so much. Had to battle some injuries. Some guys couldn't play because of those injuries, but it certainly appears to be a position where you've got more players than you have positions. And
twice as many, maybe.
Everybody needs more playing time. There's no question about that.
Another little roll under first. Rizzo once again to great covering. The head first slide, and the throw is in time. Dana DeMuth says Parra's reach was not quite long enough. No, you didn't. Shaking his head. That's the second out. Let's see.
I don't know. Looks safe with the naked eye.
Well, you want to find guys that slide head first into first. Ooh, looks like he beat it there. This might be more definitive. Oh, he's in there.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, man. So instead of having a man on and the tying run at the plate with 1 out, the bases are empty and there are 2 outs. So maybe you got it right. That's a great angle right there. Apologies to Dana DeMuth. That looked to be the correct call there. That's the thing with video. One angle shows you, you know what, the guy blew the call. The other angle shows you, you know what, he got it absolutely right. Looking at the same play. So how do you know which one is right?
Well, if you run straight through, I think he beats it anyway. You always slow down when you dive for first base.
Boy, that's a difficult call. Even with video, you're not sure. In any case, it's the second out, and it's up to Didi Gregorius now. And this is the guy who won up there tonight. Singled in the 3rd, doubled and scored in the 6th, walked in the 7th. Hard to center, and Didi's on base for the 4th time tonight. And the Diamondbacks will indeed bring the tying run to the plate with 2 outs. Yes, indeedy. A 3-for-3 night for Gregorius.
Didi sat out a couple of those games in San Francisco and apparently doesn't like sitting on the bench. This is how you get yourself back into a lineup on a regular basis.
I can tell you one thing, those socks better stay up. Because it absolutely worked. If you answered high socks in the AT&T Twitter poll question, you were correct, sir. Here's Adam Eaton.
Ooh.
Oh, just missed one down the line. Oh, boy. Doug Budowich did it.
I think that was a tough bounce there for Dave.
Dave, yeah, man.
Budrewicz, yeah.
So here's Adam. Diamondbacks trying to hang on to the division lead here. Dodgers have already won. Third base, Ransom tackles that one. That's the final out. And the Cubs take this one 4-2. The Diamondbacks drop into 2nd place in the National League West, a half game behind the LA Dodgers. Bob, they got out hit 11-6. They had their chances.
Yeah, they had some chances in this ball game, but for me, this once again falls back on the offense. You just got to find a way to have some longer innings, grind out those at bats, do the things that we saw them do so successfully earlier in the season, and then it just takes one base hit to break a game open.
And in the ultra-competitive National League West, the Diamondbacks, who had a 4.5 game lead on July the 7th, drop a half game behind the Dodgers into second place in the division. The D-backs had been atop the NL West all by themselves ever since May 17th, but they'll close tonight a half game back looking up at LA. Let's go out to Joe and Jody.
All right, guys, thanks so much. Yes, Jody Jackson, Joe Borowski, we're getting set for our post